how we do it. Got it. Bam. What am I going to put?
Oh, I got a notification.
There you go. That's what happens when you monetize. How we do it. Got it.
Hey, Hamish.
Yo, whoa, it's the illusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. Yeah. Welcome, Lily, Kale. New Year's 2020, man.
Yes, sir.
Oh, look at, we got Jeanette, Andrew, baby.
What's up, guys?
Steve, no doubt.
Hello, tribe.
Hey.
Happy near midnight on the East Coast.
Yeah, we're ready, man. We're ready. The ball's about to drop in your neck of the woods.
Yep.
I have the ball dropping feed lined up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
how's everyone doing out there?
I'm good. I'm on the East Coast, so I'm kind of ready to leave the 2021 before probably you guys on the West Coast. But yeah, man, it's good to see you.
Yeah, you get to set foot out there first. All right, we got on the chat. We got Jim. We got Island Ryland, Leggy Maggie, Child of God,
Island.
Top Feed, Dan Z, William, Gunler, dude. Gunler reporting.
Gunler.
He's late with this popcorn. William's early, dude. He gets a wrench for the New Year's Eve.
That's it. We got one wrenchless.
Yeah, we can't have a wrenchless person to start. So I had lizard emergencies today. I had to take the lizard to the emergency room this afternoon.
That's serious stuff.
You got a pet iguana?
The bearded dragon. The bearded dragon prolapsed.
Oh, no.
And let me tell you, dude, you don't find out the weird things in life till you gotta deal with it, man. There's more veterinary clinics within a 20-mile radius of my house than I could ever imagine.
And they deal with reptiles?
A lot of them do. And there's the most least helpful people on the planet in that same zone. So my first 10 phone calls were useless. Nah, we can't do anything. You can come see us on Tuesday. We don't do that. Blah, blah, blah. Later called the house call guy. He never called me back. Some pretty rude people on New Year's Eve. And so yeah, I got the bearded dragon, its guts hanging out. I got an owl, got my gloves on and my coconut oil, and I'm like, it won't work. I can't get it done. And I finally called the one veterinary place. She's like, well, we can see you on Tuesday. I was like, no, dude. I got an animal, code red. Its guts are hanging out. I got my kid here looking at it. I knew we need help. And if you're not going to help us, this animal's death's on your hands. And if you're not going to help us, like, tell me how to euthanize it, dude. and I hung up, and she called me back like 5 minutes later. It's like, look, dude, we can squeeze you in. So we took him down there. $400 later, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, $400 to save the family lizard. Just right at the buzzer of 2020, man. 21. What year is it? Just a big fat lizard bill.
You said 2020 when you started. I'm willing to accept that at this point.
I don't know what year it is.
The timeline's broken. I used to raise reptiles, so I know that's why I asked, it's a special vet that can handle them. I used to carry a Burmese python in a sack into into a veterinary office and sit in the front with all these people with little dogs, and they're looking at me with this bag that's moving, going, "What do you have in there?"
Yeah, it was weird. I talked to because I had to go in and make amends to the gal right first thing walking in and be like, "Hey, look, and we had a cool moment, me and this gal, because I had to do that, and I didn't know that she was like, we had reached our limit for seeing exotic animals for the month. And I was like, there's a limit to how many exotic animals you can see. And so they snuck us through, but it was like news to me that you can only see so many, the vet can only see so many exotics a month. It's weird. That was my information from the front lines.
Wow. That's sounds like some kind of omen that's working there. All these exotic reptiles being worked on.
Dude, it was packed. There were so many people at the animal hospital. Yeah, like I slipped in there right in the nick of time too.
All of them with COVID. Oh, I'm sorry.
She was telling me, she's like, dude, that with everybody with their COVID animals and this and that. And I was like, no. COVID animals, dude. Come on, man. COVID
no
animals.
Way.
Yeah, that was the thing. I had to wear my tiger mask because I was like, I wasn't about to put up a stink at the door, like trying to rescue my kid's lizard, dude.
Perfect setting for that, though. You show up in a tiger mask.
It was, but it's the actual vet loved it. She got a kick out of it, but it's funny. It just doesn't. People are so like, zombied out, man. I don't even think they noticed, dude. They're like, yeah, of course there's a dude with the tiger's head sitting over there.
Wow. It is a vet, so.
It is a vet. You would think everyone would have some sort of animal themed thing going on. But.
Wow.
So what do you guys think? All right, so let's go. You're on the East Coast, so you're the ones that are get to jump right into the game here in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
What's your big hopefuls? What do you got going on? What's the plans for 2022?
Did you see that meme where it's like, oh yeah, we were excited until we realized that it was 2020.
Dude, we have the new meme, Andrew. We have the new meme.
Yeah, I just ordered one.
Right there.
I love it.
Cocked monkeys.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I went and picked it up. I picked up the red one.
You ordered one, dude. You don't need to order one. I'll send you a batch, man.
I ordered two.
It's all good. I'm here to support.
I'll tell you what. Look at this thing. Who figured out how to make silk screens in the last 6 weeks, dude? I got it figured out. I can make anything now.
That's what's cool. I've never made something for a silk screen, so I didn't know the limitations, but I figured it was just line art and you can make it work.
Yeah, no, it was, because it's the first one I've gotten through that were detailed, but through trial and error, like I figured out today was the breakthrough with applying the ink to get it to not oversaturate. So I'm honing my skills.
Is it easier? Is it easier because it's with black ink as opposed to like a color, do you think?
The ink seemed to have a little bit different viscosity. I know the white was a little hard today making the scary faces because I think it was a little cold. Don't forget we got these too. Yeah. The scary faces. But it just seems like it's all technique, man. Like I'm figuring out the squeegee. It's simpler. It's all on the wrist, baby.
It's all about protecting it, The
22 merch already working.
Yeah, we're slinging stuff right into the new year. Do you get your new t-shirts? Because the cocked monkeys are going to need to be reminded that they need to have condoms on their tails, dude.
Protect the tail.
Check the tails, dude. It's the condom on the tail that sells it, dude.
Damn.
Sure to sketch out a wokester. We got Drew 86. Who's Drew 86?
So Drew, let me introduce. He's my boy, my buddy. Like you, Hamish. We go back. He and I, and I've told him about you and our just friendship somewhat. But suffice to say, he's the guy that I met a while back in the Matrix, kind of playing around and on some of the more movie entertainment side of things, and he both of us, it's wild. And I'll just say kind of thematically, we're all kind of landing from different arenas into like I think what we're probably here assembled just for a minute, while the other, let's say, part of the world is kind of plugged into the meta and waving their banners out there on Times Square right now and doing what they're doing. But that's Drew. He's also got a Telegram channel, Cosmic Light Force, too.
The Cosmic Light Force.
Yeah.
So Andrew, Jeanette, and Lily. This is Kale. Kale I've known pre YouTube.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We come from the same spiritual advisor, our buddy Joe Shaughnessy.
Yeah.
There's a whole class of us.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And Kale, this is Lily, who's been around in the tribe here, gosh, since right before it all burned up in our fire. And then Jeanette and Andrew, I've just gotten to know recently, and they made me my Tesla coil power ring. And my wife's, by the way, the jewelry was a huge dude. Yeah, my wife absolutely stoked on it.
Sweet.
And it went over my daughter's head.
Nice.
She didn't get
it.
Get it. You gotta. There's the weird thing with them not like that with the who. So who are they? My wife gets it. My daughter's still a little like. And so who are they?
Just tribe members.
But you got to understand, she's 16 and thinks I'm a dick.
Well, I guess either to a 16-year-old, you're either a dick or a dork. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm both. But she loves me. We love each other. It's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. Good. She's out there causing trouble tonight somewhere. Indeed. So what do you guys think's coming in hot for the New Year's, man? What do you guys got going on? You guys are heading to Puerto Rico still, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I know. Plans.
Yeah, we are. But, like you said, when you have plans can go wrong. So it is happening. We just don't know when it's happening with what's going on right now. We're just waiting to see if we got to get a boat one day down there.
Yeah, right.
But we bought land, so that's ours. It's just like the step one was figuring out how to move down there and work remotely, and the big thing, I guess, is we're working on homesteading when we're down there. So my goal, I guess, if I'm talking for next year, is I actually, we're having our first sober New Year's right now. Jeanette's hitting 1 year at midnight.
Oh, dang, you and me both. I forgot it's my sober thing tonight too. So we have the same sober date.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. My day is at when the clock strikes 12, man.
Right on.
13 years, God willing, if I make it the next 3 hours. So a year, Jeanette.
Yeah.
Dang, dude, that's the big one.
Well, I mean, pregnancy helped a little bit with that, but yeah, I was sober before.
You got sober before you got started on that journey, so that you'd made the decision.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. The 365 days around the sun, man.
Yeah.
It's something that makes a day super easy. Super easy. So I got the ball thing coming from the Times Square live drop.
1 minute by now, Hamish. One.
1 minute.
But it's not doing anything. Oh, maybe I'm not doing it right. Oh, I gotta hit the play button, dude. How about that?
I think you gotta hit
Live streaming is complicated.
You don't even know for a Luddite like me.
Oh, good.
Oh God.
Oh, cucked monkeys everywhere.
Yeah, dude,
Monkeys.
they're there. NYC, home of the cucked monkeys, dude.
Oh, big time, big time.
So what's that? 18 seconds? Is that it? We're gonna count
No,
this.
3, 2, 1, Jeanette. Hold on. No, it's not.
There's a delay on this thing, so I don't know. I got my Martinelli's too.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Cider. Have my hat crooked like I'm out of control. Cup of they count it down.
They must have. Happy New Year.
I think there's a
Happy
delay.
New Year.
Hey! We're here. It's official. You guys are in the new year. Out the dumpster fire.
So far, so good.
Congratulations.
So far into the cucked monkey.
And the year of the cucked monkey has arrived in full glory, dude.
Oh yeah. That just in time for the metaverse for the cucked monkeys. Just as the meta world.
Look at those hats they're giving out from Planet Fitness and NYC, dude. Those things are pretty stylish, dude.
It's amazing. You too could go to Planet Fitness in New York and wear a mask while you work out.
No good. Oh, wait.
But only if you're injected.
Missed it.
It's
10
It's
seconds, Johnny. Wait.
whole health contradiction in that image,
Right?
right?
Yeah, notice all the masks. You got to have your mask up front around the frame.
Masked and sauce to bring in the new year, dude. We're
Yeah,
fired up. Look at the chance.
Right.
There it is. That's the official
Woo, there it is.
on the
There it
thing.
is again.
Are 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's a delayed, and according to YouTube, it's on.
All right. It's official on
I hear
YouTube.
fireworks.
Old Anxiety, man. Yeehaw. 2022. What do they got? What's it got?
Woo, the fireworks are happening. Hey
Oh,
guys, fireworks. We're in the middle of the country. I'm visiting my family, and they're doing local people are doing fireworks out in the country amongst the Amish.
Oh, maskless. More
That's
maskless.
Oh God, no!
That's how you got to do it. A lot of maskless, dude.
Well, those are the people. Those are the people on the stage. They're allowed
In
to.
the protocols. Fucking the protocols.
I'm wondering how the New York Freedom guys managed. I know they were planning something tonight.
Yeah, those guys have been kind of on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking down the Burger Kings.
I got way into the Medicare tonight, dude. You guys catch Medicare tonight?
Nah, no, we didn't catch it.
Medicare, man. He's one of the best streams going, man.
Hmm.
But it's like catching there they are, dude. The ghouls themselves. Look at them.
Oh, this year De Blasio and his wife are wearing masks. Last year they danced maskless, and it was a big controversy.
Did they?
And they were alone. They were alone in Times Square. This year,
they went down there last year, right?
yeah,
Only-
they made some waves last year by doing that. So this year
Well-
they're properly cocked. They're wearing their masks. Maybe we should send them some T-shirts.
We should. For the cucked monkeys. The monkeys are gonna cuck hard this year.
Hamish, could you clarify for Hedgie what you're actually drinking?
Martinelli sparkling apple cider. I got a whole concoction. I got some yerba mate. I got some hologram coffee, Lily, and
Oh, yeah.
I got a chasing it with some water.
Never mix, never worry.
Never mix, never worry. We're fired up.
I couldn't resist the hologram coffee. Come on.
I know. I knew
Right?
when I saw
Epic.
it. I knew when I saw it. I hid the candy bar. No one knows about the candy bar. I hid it.
Wow.
Yeah, the candy bar stash. No, I'm on the mend, man. No, it's I've been going. I went sugarless like 3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brutal.
That's okay.
I
After-
live.
After you get past the second or third day, like, you know, after you
Well,
break free.
doing this, dude. But as long as I don't eat the solids before
Yeah.
bed, that's the gig. I don't have any. I didn't buy any. Although I do have a 5-pound bag of chocolate chip apocalypse mix, dude. For the
Just in case of
dude,
apocalypse.
that's one thing I did when I get all like apocalypse stored. I get the goodies in there. Most people forget that. You don't want to be in the bunker with French cut beans and no brownie mix. You gotta have some goodies stashed in there, or you're missing it. You know. Yeah, but that's what made me sugar was all the elephant ears I'd bought when we were hiding out on the 2 weeks, the flat and the curve. Okay, we don't need to listen to any of these fools talking, dude. All right. Yeah, we're out. Thanks very much.
Yeah, New York used to be the center of the universe, but it is no longer.
Well, you know, it is what it is, right? We'll see. Can it make a comeback? Any predictions? Is it it's gonzo? I think.
Well,
Cycle.
you know me, Hamish. We've had some talks. I think we're, you know, some of us believe that we're witnessing the snake is eating its tail.
Well, I liked in the last 24 hours, it's really come unraveled in a way that you didn't really, you didn't think it was gonna come unraveled.
Yes.
You know, I've been horrifyingly surprised. You know, when it starts to reveal itself, that's almost more dangerous than when it's abusing you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Do I have an echo? Is that my echo? Is that your echo? Who's got feedback? No, I'm pretty excited. Look, you know what it put it all into perspective was let's give a pause to the moment for the people out in Colorado, man. Jiminy crickets, dude.
Yeah, what went on there?
What's that?
I saw a bunch of houses burned, like 1,000. What in the world? Is it a storm? Come on.
Like it always is. A power line came down in the wind, man. Power line came down in the wind and sparked off, and tragedy ensues. Yeah, you know, you feel. I know that story. I know.
Yeah.
That story. I feel for him. But it's trippy, that weird thing where like it's literally snowing on the steaming rubble today. Like, talk about a weird,
Eerie.
but it's pretty trippy when you looked at their thing. It was literally like here now, gone. Like 1 minute they're all like going about their lives, and then 2 hours later their whole thing's just. It's more like another sign just to be grateful for today, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do for 2022, man. I got to do a technology detox, dude.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, it seems like a good year for that, man.
Yeah. I agree with that fundamentally, but there's some part of me that, you know, we've connected so many of us because of the technology. So that excuses my behavior of being addicted to it. And anyone who's near me knows I got the memes, I save them everything, I'm monitoring everything at all times. But then, us having this Telegram chat has been really nice because we can all connect off of the streams in real time and, share art and ideas. And that's been really nice. So, I mean, yes, I say detox. I know it's poison. I know it's like energy poison, literally. And then it's poison in my eyes and into my brain, but there's also good energy in there. So I'd like to restrict my ambition this year would be to restrict it and control it better, not let it control me.
Control. Oh, yeah, that's coming from the voice of a non-addict. I wish I knew what that meant. I'm going to try to flip it back. I remember making videos about this years ago about the output versus input. Use the technology going out versus the technology going in. I'm getting saturated by it. I know because I got my little canary in the coal mines that I like wait for. Like, oh, is it time? Is it time? What's the latest? And it's still all the same, right? Nothing's really changed.
Right. We know what we know, and we know where we are in this narrative. And for some of us, that's not going to change, no matter what. Like, there's no complying, there's no compromise, come what may. Do I really need to watch all the boots marching? I know what's going on. This is not new information at this point. So to me, yes, I guess you're right. I'm not saying it the way you would, but there is a way to just use this for the kind of thing you want to see and the things you want to learn, because you can learn a foreign language if you want to. You can learn how to fix a pipe on YouTube or plumb your bathroom on YouTube. There's good things that can happen. I've just allowed myself to get caught up in their narrative, their version of what's happening, and me, always being in opposition. I think that's the key. How can I just flow with what is happening and really just be in my happy spot and not let this upset me every day? Because it is. There is no question.
Yeah, it's pretty meta, man. It is like that. That's the thing. I'm talking to Jordan. Jordan had his baby, by the way, I think today.
Congratulations, Jordan.
Congrats, Jordan.
I think Jordan's going to be chiming in. He's a new dad, home birth, the whole thing. So,
wow.
Yeah,
that's
good
great
for him. That's a bold move on number 5. But I guess at number 5, you kind of have it a little bit dialed.
I guess.
Been there, done that. It's safe to do that at home.
Maybe, dude. I don't know. I could barely handle a lizard today, dude. But I'll tell you what.
That was a prolapsing lizard. That is serious stuff.
I'm not one to like get in there on that kind of stuff, but I was like, dude, I looked it up, and it's like, you got to try to lube it up and try to get it in there. And I had my gloves on and the lizard, and I was trying to stuff its guts back in there. I got my coconut oil out, the whole thing. And it was like, once it started fighting me, I was like, dude, I'm way in over my head.
Yeah.
Like, that's, but for me to actually like get in there, I was more surprised that but got to a point where I was like, I'm not comfortable anymore. Like, I don't know if I'm a hurt it or not hurt it. Like,
yeah,
help. But I didn't really watch a YouTube. That was the weird thing. I didn't want to see any pictures. Like, I was super like, I don't want to see, when you like Google something and you're like, I want to see it. And then there's like the extreme versions of it where you're like, oh my God, I never get that out of my head again, dude. I was like, I'm not ready for anything I can't handle.
You don't want to Google any medical thing.
Every now and then you got to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did give it a shot. I had my boxes of gloves, and I had my gallons of coconut oil. So I was like,
pandemic supplies paying off.
I had hot water and clean rags.
Well, that's the thing. You had a thing come up and you stepped up and you approached it. You know, the cucked monkey doesn't step up. That's the difference.
The cock,
You know?
step up, dude.
The cucked monkey does not step up. He just
Monkey does.
rolls over.
Monkey steps down. You're the cucked monkey. Oh, dude.
So, Hamish, is there a metaphor here?
What's the metaphor?
Well, the lizard, the guts coming out of the lizard, you know,
Well,
the lizard people we speak of in our chats. Like, is there some, like this happened now at this time? Like, certainly a truther with his papers would be, you know, reading into this by now.
I can look at my own narrative to be like just the final ridiculous, unnecessary expense, like can I not blow a bunch of money here on this final day for nothing? And it was like, no, dude. I remember when they walked me into the little room. And to give, you know, they had the lizard in the back somewhere, and the gal came out and she was like, here's the procedure and this and that. And like the bill was like $379. And I just chuckled. I was like, and I thought to myself, and I fought my way in here, dude. So there's nothing I can say right now. Like I had to like battle my way in there. So like, I'm going to pay. But it only turned out to be $273 with the return visit. With follow-up visits with the lizard.
Yeah.
Well, my other alternative was I was like, what do I do? Just put it in a plastic bag with a knot?
In the freezer. in the freezer, Hamish.
In the freezer, dude. Yeah, I was like all in like euthanasia. I was like, at a certain point, I'm gonna have to go a different direction here. It was a bit much. It was the unexpectedness of it all. Cause I was like, what's going on in the lizard's cage, dude? I was like, nah, that's not what's going on in there. And I was like, oh yeah, dude, that requires my special. And the lizard's looking at me like, dude, you gonna help me or what, man?
Wow.
You know, assist me or what, dude?
Poor guy.
Poor
Oh, it's terrible.
Mushu, the girl.
Oh,
The girl. The amount of questions they asked was super. Like that. Like talk about it. They've asked more questions about the lizard than they would have asked about me if I'd come in there. They asked all sorts of, like, I got quizzed, and I think I got a little bit lectured as like, you're not a great lizard owner. Like you're sort of, I own it. I didn't get the, I don't believe in pets by my very nature. Like it was sort of all happened during the separation and stuff when the teenagers, like a lizard will solve my problems. A lizard will make it all better. And then I had to step in and be like, no one's feeding the lizard, dude. I'll take care of it, dude. And now I inherited the lizard, right?
I remember.
Yeah. And so now I have the lizard, and I'm like, you know, it's a lizard, dude. I need to get I think once it gets healthy, I'm going to have to like step up to do the whole like weirdo bearded dragon thing, man. Like be the dude with the bearded dragon on a leash, man. Like I kind of had one of those moments. I looked at the lizard and I was like, if you make it through this, dude, after this investment in your life, dude, okay, I'm going to have to get the little harness and put you on the dashboard of my truck and roll around with you everywhere like a weirdo, dude.
We got one of those guys here on the beach. He takes the lizard on the boardwalk. He's kind of a gnarly dude, I think. Look at him.
I wanted a falcon.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
A falcon right there, dude. Bird of prey, dude. A giant, but a lizard, that's not really my trip, dude. But it might be. You never know.
Reptiles reptiles are interesting, but you know, there's also like if you raise a bunch of them, like I used to raise them and I worked with people who rescued them, and I had to save a caiman who wouldn't eat. We had to force feed a little freaking alligator, and they are nasty. Anaconda, baby anaconda. Like a lot of people have brought illegal reptiles into this country, and then they get like freaked out by them and they don't know what to do with them, and they let them loose. Like you're in an environment where you could let an anaconda out and it would live. You know, in the Northeast that wouldn't happen. Florida, Burmese pythons, that's the snake I had. They let them loose and they're everywhere, and it's a big problem. So, you know, there's a lot of people who are attempting to be lizard people who shouldn't be lizard people. You have to be very, very good at this and ready to put your hand up a lizard's ass with coconut oil if you need to, or kill it if you need to. And when I got the snakes, the guy who sold them to me told me, you have to be ready to kill it. I was like, I don't think so. He goes, have a knife. And he showed me, he had one sheathed and ready to go right on the banister because he had large snakes and they could kill. And so if it started to get too tight on you, you have to be willing to kill it. Like that was intense.
Yeah.
I never got to that point, but you know, like that's your pet. Like, what are you trying to prove? I knew a guy who had a 20-foot python in a closet in an apartment. Like, that doesn't seem appropriate on any level, right? You need a cat.
There's something weird about it all that's a little, I don't know. I like Mike because I know he can like fend for himself.
Exactly.
Like cats don't trip me because they can come and go. Like dogs are way too dependent for me to like truly be like, oh yeah, like they need you. I know I got Paraplegic's number in here. I was going to throw him an invite to this thing till I saw him on the chat.
Yeah, he's in the chat.
I thought I sent him.
Did I have an agreement? I have to text him if a stream is about to begin.
Yeah, send him the link. Like he can cut. Paraplegic's more than welcome. We're going to start New Year's off with coffee tasting this year. I'm actually contemplating a whiteboard to get this year started. And actually take it serious, because I'm almost convinced that the storm is over on YouTube, as delusional as that sounds. Like I think everyone's gonna circle back on it in a weird way. It's my angle on it. It's my thinking on it. That it's about to come full circle on the YouTube thing. That none of the other ones are really that good, and everyone's going to come back.
Everyone but a certain comedian.
I think he could show back up. If he did a Mr. Medicare style thing, he would fully be like in there. Mr. Medicare's thing's genius. If you don't check him out, he used to be the biggest, and he just fully does like a live stream, deletes it the minute he's over, man. That dude rakes in the dough too, dude. He's funny, man. He did a pretty good thing, interesting thing. You know about the dude with the beard who went crazy? What is his name, man? Hey, chat, what's the name of the guy with the beard who went weird? I don't know who he is, but it's like the big thing in the internet world, man, or the online world is one of these dudes got called out for being a super, but he's like a full right wing, like gung ho, like, let me teach you how to date girls, guys. But meanwhile, he's like a real, what is he called? Oh, he has a name for it. Forget, dude. See, that's useless. That's useless of me, dude.
That could be so many people.
It could be most of the right wing, dude. They're all about to get exposed. But anyway, Mr. Medicare was talking about how, like, you know, all of this, it's they're all like the internet talking heads now that are being propped up by outside agencies. Like, I think we've actually managed to survive this whole thing without getting noticed at some sort of,
yes,
and I think that
it's strange. How do we do it?
What?
Somebody was just asking that in a chat yesterday.
What's that?
How did we evade code words? It doesn't make sense.
Jack Murphy's the guy who, you
I
know,
was going to say, you're not talking about Jack Murphy, are you?
that's who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who he was till Mr. Mediker talked. Someone sent me something about him the other day, and I was like, who's Jack Murphy? I don't know, because I don't care.
Yeah.
But Mr. Mediker did a full breakdown of it today, but his breakdown of it was pretty interesting about how a lot of these, about the whole gatekeeper thing. And these dudes are all propped up so they can implode them and get their databases and the whole thing. You know what? You know why it is that we've survived? Because I've refused to be like the cult leader guy. You know what I mean? Like even on the thing, like I've yet to do that whole like weird, like you guys need to like come over here and like join the special group. And we have like a little coded world. Like I went over to the Telegram once the other day. Like I'm more like, you guys do your thing, dude. I'm out. I'm just some dude. I can tell we survived, man. We're not trying to take their thing, you know,
because we're a community. They're looking for someone that
exactly.
is like taking people's energy. It's all about finding someone that takes energy, and they're like, we'll get this guy because all these people are giving him their energy. We'll prop him up and then we'll boom. But we're just a community that kind of create our own energy together. We're not giving our energy all as a one person. I think that's what this is all about, is just like, it's about energy. You know, they want our energy. We're not giving it to them, so they're not after us.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a lot of that. And also we don't stay in one lane. Like that's the thing, is it's funny. Even like, that's why I sort of got super annoyed the other night with the person who's like, enough with all the anti stuff. I go, we don't really stay in that lane too much either. I mean, yeah, we'll call out the cucked monkey just for fun, but most of us were like, that's why I think how the channel has survived is there's enough camping videos and talk about Legos to save us, dude. Enough smoke and mirrors. Al comes like, it's like my buddy says, it's like Al comes in and does a mic drop right when it's about to get deleted. Comes and's like, nah, dude, you guys stop.
Yeah.
But we've gotten right over the target over the last couple of years. Like no holds bars. But I don't think the thing we don't do is we don't get into the like actual headlines of it all. Like it's more peripheral. It's like more feelings, like interpretations and feelings about like what's going on versus actually like getting into the nitty gritty of who they are. Like I don't think I've ever once mentioned Jack Posobiec.
Oh, you just broke your record and mentioned him.
I did it. That's why I totally did it. But any of these guys, like I don't really get into the world. Although I would be stoked to get into some sort of like cyber war with some of these fools. I just want to get invited onto their thing, dude. The ego in me, dude.
Put it out there.
I want to get to I want to go skate Tim Pool's ramp. At the end, I want to see Chicken Town.
You could probably just show up there.
I want to sit at the microphone and go, why do you shill for Big Pharma, dude? Why are you chilling for Big Pharma, my man? I want to ask Joe Rogan the same thing, dude. They won't have me.
Why does everybody do it?
Well, I've noticed that it's all a club. Like that's the thing, which was interesting, as Mr. Mediker was pointing out, is it really is like the YouTube club is very built in on itself and super insulated in a weird way. I think that's ultimately how we're in the middle ground. Got just enough numbers on the thing to stay in a certain stratosphere, but not enough views to actually make the algorithm think that we're in that stratosphere. You know what I mean? Like it's a weird, I haven't budged. My channel has not budged in 2 years. I lose about 200 viewers of 200 subscribers a month.
Remember we were counting down to 80,000. We were like, well, counting up, I should say, counting everyone. Oh, we went up a few, we went down a few, went up.
The other 100,000 crack was what it was all about. I really wanted to get to 110. Couldn't get it. I think it got to like 189 or something close. Then COVID hit. It's the COVID's fault, man.
Yeah, totally. Just blame COVID. When in doubt.
When in doubt, blame COVID, dude. It's the COVID Pats, dude. The COVID Pats did it. And here we are, man. Hustling to stay relevant in an irrelevant world.
Exactly. All right. People want to know your thoughts on Joe Rogan. You probably covered that a million times. The toe, the gatekeeper himself, man. I think he's dangerous. As a sober, I'll tell you one. You know, like when Joe Rogan showed his true colors with me was with Russell Brand. So Russell Brand's a sober guy. He's got, I don't know, a bunch of years sober. He's more than I do. And Joe was kind of belittling him about his sobriety on his thing and got Russell all jammed up, man. And I remember watching it just being like, that's super uncool what you're doing, dude. Like I knew what Rogan was doing, and he got Russell kind of all like, if you watch it, there's a moment where you can see Russell's sort of like getting that, like the earworm installed, like he's sober enough and spiritual enough to have broke through the spell, but a weaker person would have cracked under that kind of like pressure. I didn't like it one bit. For me personally, Joe Rogan's a super dangerous soul taker, dude, and not to be trusted on any level, dude. I don't like his whole hustle. And I used to be a huge Rogan fan, huge. Like Rogan, I would say was my first the big thing I dedicated a lot of listening time to in the early like tens, you know, from like 2000, early sobriety, 2010 to 2015, man. I was pretty into what Joe had to say. I thought he was pretty brilliant, and then something about the whole hyping the DMT stuff. And I go, yeah, the minute you're broadcasting that stuff, you're not safe for impressionable minds. Cause by then I was solidly sober, like being like, why would you do that to people? Why would you melt any young mind, like any young male's mind? And mainly males, cause that's who listens to Joe. Why would you convince them that they need to have some sort of altered consciousness to like experience what it is to be like a dude? And then, Owen Benjamin just blew them all apart into a billion fractals, dude. and then he just became a measurement, dude. A measurement for how cuck the gatekeeper is. In fact, this could be the toe right there, dude. The cucked monkey. That Spotify dough, dude. Well, I never adhered very much to Joe Rogan. I listened a little bit here and there, but so I don't have that kind of history. But I will say that he challenges things in a mainstream. I mean, like to me now, he's mainstream.
Oh yeah,
and he's getting people on like Dr. Robert Malone apparently just did an interview with him. And so he's actually getting information to a lot of people that people need, I think, to wake up, and I think he's been doing that all along. Yes, he has his flaws. No one's perfect. And I can't listen to 3 hours of anybody talking. So I'm not signing up for all of that, but I think he's doing some stuff now that's kind of important. I get it. He's like half shill, and then suddenly he's waking people up and sharing information that nobody else is willing to share. He's challenging the dominant paradigm in a way that nobody else is willing to do. So there's some value in that.
I mean, I get it. Like you do get the little bit of like, all right, but then you realize like I think that he's a little bit of a relief valve. And I think he's like, just for like a community like ours, it's just that like, oh, well, and I go, but wait a minute, that dude wasn't there in the front of the whole thing being like, hey, code red, dude, we don't do this. This is,
Right.
he's came to the party late and he appears like he's got his Spotify dose so sewed up. He's not taking any chances. And then he's got that weird hustle going on with everybody and the like, everybody's calling him like the doctor, dude, you know.
Now anyone who gets sick calls him.
Yeah, that's a little like, to me, there's sort of something's not right. I can't put it's this elitist circle jerking thing that like I don't know if it's the same way it was with the DMT and the whole thing. It's like, you can be part of our club, like in the thing. And I don't know, he seems to be surrounded by that same little circle of gatekeepers. I mean, Pool's one of them. Like I'm a Pool. Pool's my canary in the coal mine, dude, you know, but I do that, take what I can get and leave the rest behind.
Exactly.
Like I like the Sanjay Gupta stuff. I thought he roasted that fool. But do I think that he's doing it to break the spell? Nah. I think that he's controlled opposition 101 and he's trying to harness our thing because he appears to be a big like 2A health dude. And I don't think he really is, man. I think he's just a self-serving, muscle pumping, fast car driving weirdo, dude. I tell that to his face. You could prove me wrong in dialogue. Maybe he's a nice guy. I want to hug him. I don't know.
Well, I can see that, I can see that. And I'm no defender. I just do think that we need every voice we can get right now on the side of truth. And I think occasionally the truth comes through, even with all the things you just said with him. And Pool too. I mean, Pool, look, he's wishy-washy. It's all get out, I find. Like, I listen to him, I'm like, yes, wait, no, what, yes, no, wait. He can't make up his mind. He'll say it, but he won't commit to it. That's the vibe I get from him. But I agree with you.
They'll get this waffly thing about the cops, man. Like, and I think we've all been there, but now the die is cast. Like, Jimmy Dore was right. A cop's a cop's a cop. They've always been the same cops throughout time and place. There's no such thing as a good cop, dude. They're all cops, man. If you didn't want to be a cop, you would have been a fireman, dude. You know, I've as a dude who bought into the whole thing for a moment the other year. What was that? A year and a half ago? And I got a little spooked by it. And then, you realize now that like, yeah, these dudes are like, I watched that Officer Tatum dude a bit, man. He's like, he talks out of both sides of his mouth too about the cops, dude. And they all do. All three of those dudes, Tatum, Rogan, they all want to be buddies with them, dude. Those dudes will all hire them to keep you out of their club, dude.
Well, of those three, only Officer Tatum was a cop, so you can understand why.
That's what's funny, like Tatum, I remember the first time he ever came on Alex Jones, dude. I saw that guy. I saw Candace Owens come up from nothingness too. Like that's my main thing with like watching all this stuff is to remember, because I can go, I remember that day. I remember the day Candace Owens came, because a lot of people give her a hard time. And I'll go, she's the same thing, dude. She's another one that came in pretty legit. And as a person who woke up on the left and like Turner, like got woken up, dude. Because if you remember the early Candace Jones thing, she was super harassed and doxxed and fully like, and then now she's this self-righteous snotty, holier than thou conservative. And I'm like, wait a minute, lady. I remember when you came on to Alex Jones and you were just getting a voice, dude. I remember Jones had them all on, dude. Where's he now, dude? So I think we're watching an interesting like character development, subplots. And the real people aren't getting their voices through. Like whatever happened to remember the crazy African nurse doctor lady?
Oh yeah.
Whatever happened to her? That's
the frontline doctors. Yeah, America's frontline doctors.
By the way, did you see the big, what they're calling out as the substitution for the horse paste? If the frontline doctors put out their protocols for the thing and they put in all their stuff, because most people can't get it, they gave the backups. And the backup for the horse paste is essentially black seed oil.
Right.
Which I thought was super interesting because, that's ancient technology. Is the black seed oil. You guys take the black seed oil out there, Andrew, Jeanette? You got to have a jar of a thing of the black seed oil.
I asked Lily about it.
I'm not.
I swear by the black seed oil.
We got
Go get it, Hamish.
Yeah, we've got what do we got? We got quercetin and elderberry.
Zinc and quercetin,
right?
they said, is a good combination. I don't know where black seed oil came from and why everybody's pushing it these days, but that seems to be one of the things. So
let's look.
Like I told you, Jeanette, I just don't go for seed oils of any kind.
Oh, man, this stuff, man, you feel anything coming on? Couple tablespoons of that, choke it down.
Boom.
The stuff, dude.
But it tastes like gasoline, I'm sure.
Oh, dude, it's the worst. You can hide it with cranberry juice. But I don't mess with that anymore. I just do it straight and just know that it's good for me. The black seed oil. That's like, I think that's like the real deal. It's the real deal, man. Healthy immune system and inflammatory response, dude. 100% pure, dude. There it is.
That's it.
I swear by it.
Has it on a label? It is no lie.
Yeah, as long as it's in some black jar you can't see through, it's got to be real. It literally could be motor oil.
It might be.
Looks like it.
I'm a big adherent, I'm a big adherent of health things, right? So years ago, one thing that happened was a lot of us were taking a cod liver oil supplement from a specific company, and it was fermented, right? So in my circle, fermentation is good, right? You ferment all your vegetables, right? You've got to have probiotics in your life, right? So ferment equals good. Fermented cod liver oil equals double good, right? Well, a very prominent doctor ended up taking so much of it that he gave himself heart disease and began to question these teachings from our dear leaders and saying, wait a minute, why did I get heart disease from taking so much of this stuff? And it turns out you can take too much of it. And it turns out, what's fermented fat? It's called rancid. There is no fermented fat in any logical sense of the word. You need sugars and carbohydrates to ferment something. And all of the experts, all of us, experts on fermentation, never thought of that. We just kept popping the pills and they were disgusting. Cod liver oil is kind of disgusting. So, and it turns out that we were really taking rancid oils. So that came from the highest level of health people. It made me very suspicious. It made me very, very suspicious of peddling things. I peddle. I'm a peddler. I sell health solutions. Yet still, I'm like, a lot of people, like prominent medical professionals, got fooled on this one. And then there was a schism in that community. Either you went with the people who continued to promote that regardless of the new evidence and the science, right? If you will, the studies that were coming out and the results, or you were like, no, I will now use my eyes and my sense and reject this. even though I was told that it was good for me. And that's hard. That's a hard nut to swallow, especially in a truth or health community.
Well, I think that's the trouble with all this stuff. You got to have you can't get caught in the cult of it. You know, it's a very interesting thing. It's you get twacked out, and then you're like, oh, it's only that way. It's like when was it you who sent me the stuff about the almond milk and all the almond and the nut things and the kids, and I was like, yeah, we're not that crazy about it, that like in that direction. I get it, man. Like, yeah, like we don't use peanuts because Blythe's allergic, right? So we don't use that. We use the almond butter and the thing, but like we're not that crazy about it. Like, like people get off the deep end with all this stuff. I try to be a little bit more footloose and fancy free with it. Like, I don't take this every day. I just go, dude, I feel a little bit rough. It's going in if I can remember. But it's funny. Like, I listened to this dude. You ever heard of Ted Brower?
Mm-mm.
Ted Brower, he's got a podcast. He's like, I don't know where I picked him up, but he's like super gung-ho about the stuff. But he always used to be like, D3, K2, boom, all about it, about the chemtrails and all the stuff and the 5G. And he's like, dude, one day there's going to be some illness that's going to show up, and you're going to want to be on your D3 and your K2 and your D3 and all the stuff that they say you're supposed to take now. This dude, for years, he would hammer it. You got to make sure you're topped up on all this stuff all the time, dude. You just never do. Cause he was like a Christian dude. He's like thief in the night, never know when. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting back like 6 months ago, and I was like, that Ted Brower dude fully like hooked me up, man. Like, I was dialed in when this all happened. Like, it wasn't going to get me. I was all topped off on the stuff.
You know? Well, you know, a lot of people I follow and watch and listen to. A lot of people, like you've said, have made themselves sort of internet gurus, you know, and then they're constantly promoting some products, and it's easy for people to go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, D3K2 does make a lot of sense. How do I join? Paraplegic is trying to get in. I sent him all these links. Hold on a second. Yeah. So, you know, I think there's a little bit to it all of. Well, what I learned from a lot of these experiences is what is natural and real. That's where you go. What is natural and unprocessed? That's the most sense, like, to me, like, logically, it's natural to our bodies. Everyone can say it's natural. Everyone can say it's therapeutic. Everyone can say all day long, but if you're marketing it, it isn't, in a sense, right? It's like the food is what it is, or it's not. Food doesn't have the vitamins and minerals that it used to have, right? Because the soils have been depleted. So answer the problem of the soils. That's the key. Regenerative farming that makes soil give food back what food was supposed to give us in the first place. You know, when people just ate real food and milk that they, milked out of a cow or a goat themselves, when people made their own cheese and butter, and when people were like close to food, they were healthier. That's just a fact. So everything that we've done is like get farther and farther away from that, and then try to figure out how to supplement that. So, I used to take fists of supplements, and I take some, but I'm more sketchy on it now. I don't feel like it should be coming from outside. It should be coming from the food and the nutrients and the sunlight and the energy of the earth. I should be going out on the earth, and I should be like connecting to something real, instead of just thinking that I can plug into YouTube all day. No criticism to anybody on YouTube, but I can't learn that from electronics. I have to learn that from nature. I have to get that from God. I have to get that from food. And you can supplement a little bit, but what we're really talking about metaverse on a level, right? It's like, we don't get what we want because our planet doesn't work. So we'll just take these supplements, and then it'll be okay. Then we'll even out. And
No.
you may dodge some of the big bullets, but you're not really living like we're supposed to.
You mean it's like eating the Star Trek space cubes?
Kinda, right? And so much food is, and like so much of when I go to a health food store, it's all just analog food. It's not real food. You know, what's real food? Food, it doesn't have ingredients. It is ingredients. So if you're reading an ingredients list and trying to decide whether it's good for you, it's not. But do I like almonds this week, or are peanuts bad, or what did Joe Rogan just tell me I'm supposed to be eating? You know, like just simple foods is the best. And it's stuff you made yourself is the best because you can control what goes in it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the rub, right? Like I think that's the beauty of our time, right? Like when I look at like, all right, so we're at 2022, right? Like I think all of us kind of in our little sphere here, you know, we're all aiming back towards the land on a certain level. Like and you know, it's that thing of like the big environmental conundrum. Yeah, it's where the left has lost its mind. That's where like where I don't have any respect for them on a certain level is because they've just stopped their seeking of the healing that there was always about with electric cars. I'm like, dude, like, no, that's not the answer. Like, it is this go back to the land without the hippie free love sex thing. Right? It's commune without debauchery.
Yeah.
It's commune with respect for everybody. It's not this free for all weird thing. It seems like we're closer. That's where I trip on it a lot. I think we're a lot closer to the solution than we even realize. You know, I feel it. Like I feel a definite positive push into this year versus like last year. Definitely. Like last year was a shit show, man. Like there was like I'm thinking about last year. I'm taking down the Christmas tree this year. Yeah, like tomorrow I'm gonna take it down. I kept the Christmas tree up all year on the whole like vibe of like that whole, remember how crazy that vibe was last year about all of this like sort of stuff? It was very oppressive in that sense. Like I don't feel the same oppression that I felt last year. I feel an ominousness about like what's going on, but I don't feel the grip. Last year was very grippy. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I remember last year, the first thing that hit was they took our churches away. They did everything digitally. So like they were doing virtual masses and they weren't doing, you know, for Catholics, like communion, they were doing virtual sacraments. And you just lost God kind of. You like they were taking away kind of your spirituality and just putting fear in your life. And then you didn't have God kind of taking it away. So it felt awkward last year. And like there was a lot of fear last year and there was less fear this year. And looking forward, I think we're looking into creating, we're looking into growing our own food more, building skills, building communities. I see moving away from fear and more into creating. And I think that's the direction that's going to, you know, overcome all of this and take away from what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel like a whole level of, I do feel a different creative energy coming into this year. Like I was saying, like, you know, the lizard was kind of the wrap up of all the like weird stuff. Like I got a flood of like weird end of the year stuff where you're like, oh wow, like yeah, last year was a lot more of a shit show than I even thought. And it's all sort of resolved itself before the buzzer.
Good.
If you will. Because I think that was like last year it was definitely felt a lot forced, right? Like trying to be whatever it was in spite of itself, you know, trying to do all the things that we would do as as a reaction to not being oppressed. Like,
Right.
gardening and all those things definitely had a more, no, I'm not doing it your way. So I'll plant some seeds and I'll grow some food and I'll do this and I'll do that. And I think we've all settled into this thing, right? Like
Yeah.
last year was very new.
That's a good way of looking at it. Last year we reacted. This year we're
Responding.
driving, like we're initiating.
Yeah.
Plus, we've got Ozzy. So last year was a whole different thing to us. And this year, now we've got a future, we've got our child. So the future is very much driven for us. We're thinking for her, and there's no turning back. Like we see what it is and we know where we have to go. So we're like very aligned with, building our future right now. That's what we're doing. It's funny, as I got sober, I found myself having more time because I found more hours in the day. I wasn't waking up sluggish anymore and whatever. So I took that extra time. I called up my firefighter buddy who loves building stuff. He's building a deck right now for our friend's mom. And I said, dude, I want to learn some woodworking skills. I want to sit behind you. I want a bar back, and I want you to teach me carpentry because I want to build garden boxes this summer. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm like, we're making moves. We're going to start growing our food this year. And that's already the 2022 look. Like we're creating something.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel pretty optimistic about it all. Like you said, like that was the thing. Cause I made the shirts today and I was like, oh, I finally figured it out. Like I finally figured out how to make a silk screen a detailed shirt. I even figured out how to print the thing out on the printer and I was like, all right, I got this going. Like, now what can I do? Like,
can you do the hats, you think, like that now?
What's that?
You make a hat now, like a cucked monkey hat?
That's too advanced.
That's too, all right. Well,
that's
next part.
My next move is to set it up to do multicolor. Like that's where it is. I'm still pretty primitive on the thing. I just was, oh, look, it's paraplegic bear, dude.
It's not paraplegic.
Anyone else who wants to come over, just tell into me. I'll send you the link. Like if you're on the chat and you want to join us for the New Year's rallying to get fired up, and just email me. I'll try to answer the email. Get a hold. Lily's got the Telegram going, and
Yeah.
what's going here? No volume, paraplegic bear.
His first time on Zoom, I think.
It's because he's got that NASA sweatshirt on. We're not going to the moon tonight, dude. We're not going to the moon.
Connecting to audio.
Audio's on.
I can hear you now.
You're in. Welcome.
I've never used Zoom, dude. I probably shouldn't even have joined tonight.
That's great.
It's hilarious.
Wow.
What's up?
Wow, we're here. We're hanging out. We're burning the final. We're burning the final dump in the dumpsters tonight. Getting ready, cleaning it up for the new year.
I haven't burnt any coffee yet, so
yeah.
I'm just roasting it. So I'm out in 25 degrees in the greenhouse. It's my roasting shack. So
where are you chiming in from, paraplegic bear?
on Alaska, Washington, at my girl's house.
All right.
Come out here for 3 months, and then go back home to Maryland.
I got
Every 3 months. Yeah.
It's a good place to be, man, out in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, rainy months are kind of crazy. It's beautiful up here in the spring, though.
Yeah, man.
Nice. It's really rainy, though. You were pretty bummed out the other day when it was cloudy. I was thinking, man, if he was up here, he'd probably be freaking just in a rubber room.
Well, I lived in Portland, Oregon for a long time, so I got that. I know about that sad, dude. I know about the sad.
Yeah, you got to push past it.
You got to, dude. Well, that was the interesting stat on that is I believe that Seattle has the same rainfall total as Chicago.
I heard it has more psychologists per capita than any whatever percentage wise, people wise.
Yeah, man, it's mental up there, man.
Tons of fluoride.
Yeah, you know, there's something trippy about that whole zone up there, man. I don't know what it is, dude. I'm drawn to it though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about it. I've only been coming out here for 10 years. I'm from Maryland, so you know, I mean, I know there's a whole skate scene up here too, but seems like, I don't know. Seems like you're in the spot for all that nice weather and bowl skating and shit like that, you know?
Well, you know, it's that funny. I was talking to the gal at the veterinary place today about it. She had moved out. The other one, not the one I had to apologize to. The other one. She had moved out from Michigan right at the thing. And she's like, you know, the winter. And I go, yeah, but wait, you've been out here 2 years, wait a couple years from now. And you'll be like, all this sunshine sucks, dude. Like the other day when it rained, I was like, yeah, it's like weather. We don't get any weather. Look at Stuart J. Hooper. Look at this.
I saw that all the flooding. That was incredible. Your little video. You know?
We got some water, man. When it rain, it doesn't rain like that often where you actually get it to because we'd had the rain like a week before, so it kind of primed the like if it rains really hard,
it up a little bit.
But if it rains really hard when it's been dry for a long time, it'll just beat away. Like this one actually like soaked in and then like really.
Yeah, it's like St. George. It's like St. George, Utah. When I got to my grandparents, when I used to go out there, like floods, it doesn't soak in. It just runs.
Yeah,
you know,
it just bounced right off. And
stories about the dudes skating those Arizona ditches where it'd be like, if they didn't feel the rumble, like those dudes skating those ditches and get washed away if they couldn't feel that it was, you know,
flash floods are no joke, man.
Doing a big grind and all of a sudden like whoosh.
What's going on, Stuart?
It just hit 2022 here in Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma, dude. We're moving across the country.
Yeah.
You're in 2022. What's looking good for your year ahead there?
Yeah, we officially made it. Just about. So year ahead. I personally going to be trying to get this PhD finished. That's kind of my own personal goal. And also trying to get a couple of articles published as well on the academic journal side of things, which I have one now complete, ready to be sent out, one that's about halfway complete. So yeah, trying to make a bit of progress and trying to make a bit of a dent in the academic realm in regards to this idea of elite classes, foreign policies being in control of elites and not being used for the people and all this sort of stuff that we spoke a lot about a couple months ago now when we did one of these.
Yeah, it all seems to be moving ahead pretty quickly, man. Are you doing catch or are you on the lead of it?
One more time.
Sorry.
Are you ahead of the information or trying to keep up with it?
I'd say I'm pretty much in a trying to keep up point right now. I think I've been trying to be in this position of keeping up with it for probably the past year. Like you've been saying in this stream, from what I've caught so far, the last year was kind of a big old mess, to say the least. So much going on in terms of all different types of news stories, right? And the world seemingly falling apart on many different levels that it's extremely hard to keep up with everything. So for me personally, I've just been trying to sort of refocus on just what my thing is, and that's foreign policy and foreign policy decisions and how countries work with one another or don't. And I think that would probably be my biggest piece of advice to everyone, is to find a topic of interest that is really important to you and just focus on that, and then try to become an expert on that to some degree. And then you can speak authoritatively on it, and then hopefully present some ideas and some critical thoughts that are different to everyone else's thoughts and positions on it, right? And trying to really get out there and perhaps make a positive change on whatever that topic may be. So yeah, that's kind of my advice on that particular point.
So we're not supposed to listen to the experts until we become an expert ourselves, right?
Right. In fact, that was one of the most disturbing things I saw over the past year. All these news stories that were saying how do your own research is somehow a bad thing, and thinking outside of the expert opinion is somehow a bad thing. Well, who is giving us the expert opinion? Who is the expert in this case, right? And there's many different examples you can think of in that. A big one that I usually use with my students is, can former bankers be trusted to come into the government and then regulate the banking industry, right? And immediately hands get raised like, does that actually happen? Is that how the system works? Like, people are just shocked that, yeah, that's actually how this thing works and how it operates. And we have these supposed experts. But yes, on the one hand, that might be positive because they do have a lot of information, but there's also a big, wide open door for ulterior motives, right? Which, again, if you speak of ulterior motives on some of these forbidden topics right now, you are immediately dismissed, deplatformed, and ideologically destroyed to some degree, and that's really dangerous.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so interesting about everything that's going on right now. It's I think that they're all going to eat themselves. You do have noticed that the bankers or somebody's put the screws to the medical experts in the last 7 days, because they've sure adjusted their tune to sound like we were right all along. You know?
Yeah, and this is actually one of the reasons I actually wanted to pursue education as far as I have, and to try to get a PhD, is to try to put myself into a position of authority to be able to talk about these topics, right? And have people respect an opinion, which I always knew was going to be very contrary and critical of the mainstream opinion on foreign policy topics. But now we're in a position of, well, it doesn't even matter if you have the credentials to talk authoritatively. All that matters is, do you toe the line or do you not toe the line? And that's pretty much it. And that's extremely dangerous.
You're not going to have much of a speaking part if you don't say exactly what they, you go completely against them. Then next thing you know, you're in a car accident,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like Kennedy has been going hard in the paint lately, right? Like you wonder, man, like that dude's been going so hard in the paint the last month. Like I'm surprised. And then you realize I don't even think they care anymore. That's what I've noticed. I think they've set their, something tells me it's all about Palestine right now. That's the template. I've really been digging in on. That's my big thing that I've been really been horrifyingly shocked at, dude. That is
meaning what? Meaning what?
Yeah, please explain.
So so my entire life, right? I'm 52 years old. The thing's been going on over in Palestine. The same, I don't know what exactly it is. I can't put my finger on it, except that over there's people's houses getting demolished, right? And to me, that just it's there's something so intrinsically evil about that. Like, and I think on a human level, like that's like the ultimate thing. Like, right, like all of us right now, all 5 of us are in our dwellings, right? We're in a dwelling. We're in somewhere that we're comfortable enough to sit here, flip on our Zoom, and we got a bunch of our stuff in the background and we got our casual clothes on and we're just relaxed. We're sitting here chit-chatting on Zoom on a live stream. Now, if someone came and like forcibly told me like, I need to be out of this house tomorrow because they're going to bulldoze it so that some dudes from the other side of the county can come live here. To me, I can't.
Well, dude, that sort of happened in Chaz for a minute in Seattle. They're like, there's people that live there. They're like, hey, you know, you got to let the people express themselves. And, you know, maybe it's going to be the summer of love. And they moved, like, people had to leave their shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know that's not on a big, you know, thing. I mean, I'm sure, you know, you might not have had to give up your home if you had a lot of grape soda and Newports, though.
No, but you're but you hit the nail on the head, paraplegic bear, is that's what it is in the collective consciousness of this weird thing where it has been justified my entire life to do that to this group of people based upon like these lines drawn in the sand, and it's got some sort of like maps that back it up and historical ownership and blah blah blah, and it can tie into these religions, which I don't buy into. And I see what's going on. I've been following a lot lately on this, these Palestine Instagram pages. And it's just like, there's something so diabolical about it that
dude, is it Palestine, or is it Israel sending over stuff into, what do you?
No, so if you go to like, what's one of the main ones I've been checking out a lot lately? I'd have to, let me see, hold on. It's not the bombings, it's not the bomber stuff, it's not the missiles and the iron.
It's actual government saying you gotta leave your shit and you don't own your house anymore, you don't own your land anymore, you're gone.
No, it's them taking these people out of their homes and them having to put all their shit on the street and them coming in and like there's like, I was watching this one video of these dudes, they were stripping out the power boxes. Like they were taking all their stuff and taking out the power box, right? Like I'm a carpenter and a home builder. Like I know what the power box, why that would be important. It's a gnarly piece of equipment. And they were popping the power box thing out and putting it out in their pile of stuff and taking their doors and stuff. And I was like, man, like,
they're going to build something somewhere outside of mud probably and use
it's just
bricks or whatever.
It's
dude, they do that here with what do you call it? Where the government can like just take your land.
Eminent domain.
Yeah, I mean it's not like next week though, but they can pretty much take your shit here too.
No,
I mean, kind of.
There's something, I don't know. It's just this weird thing. I guess where I tapped into it a little bit as I sat back and go, that's been going on my whole life, man. And I never really cared about it. Like, sure, like, yeah, Palestine over there and this and that. And then you kind of bump into like, well, you don't want to talk about it because it's like you're anti-Israel and the whole thing. And then it ties into all these dudes in Congress with the BDS and all that. It just gets into this ball of, it taps down into the same dudes. It taps down into the orange man, the sleepy dude, all the a-holes in the pharmaceutical companies.
Greasy grabblers.
Yeah, dude, it's the whole same group, dude. And I'm like, wait a minute, they've been showing us what they're up to my entire life, but the con was that it's over there and they've been doing it for thousands of years. And I'm like, I've been really struggling on a like sub spiritual level, if that makes any sense. You know how like you got subconscious, like something about it spiritually bothers me, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing as watching the rainforest getting burnt down, except they're not showing. If they showed that shit every night on the news, people would care, you know. But since they don't, they're not going to show that shit, you know. Not really.
Yeah, it's something to that. I don't know why I was bringing it up, Stuart, but it's that thing of, it was tied into something you were bringing up about, I don't know.
I think, have you ever seen the movie Elysium?
I was watching, yeah, dude, totally.
Yeah, with Matt Damon, right? So when we have the elites upper class that lives literally off-world in a spaceship, which is orbiting around the Earth. I think you're almost you're seeing that to some degree on planet Earth right now. And like you said, with the Israel situation, that's kind of that's a step in that direction. And we see this also all around the world, really. This trend of this creation of social enclaves, really, where there are places that are for the elites and there are places that are for everyone else, and they are very, very, very different places. And you see this in the developing world. If you look in Iraq or places like this, when the US military was there at the height of the occupation and invasion, they had the green zone, which was this hyper militarized, hyper defended area where the military government essentially was established by the Americans, right? And it was an impenetrable fortress. And then if you look at the rest of Iraq, well, it's hell on earth, quite literally. And you see that also happening within the United States now as well, which is interesting. We have these gated communities with armed guards, which are armed and guarded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right? And what's outside of these gated communities? Well, you see the complete degeneration of society to some degree, right, in some places. And this is irregardless of race and gender, right? There's places in white America that are completely destroyed, places in black America that are completely destroyed and deprived. And it all ultimately probably comes back to the massive wealth inequality that we see in the Western world right now. And the fact that people are working, right, minimum wage jobs, and they cannot make enough money to actually live a successful, prosperous, healthy life. Meanwhile, we have CEOs of companies which are seemingly always rewarded, no matter what happens, rewarded for failure, rewarded for corruption, rewarded for anything, right? You name it. Some of you have seen a couple of Joe Rogan's recent guests, had a couple of medical doctors on, which have made some interesting statements, right? And had some interesting case studies on failures by some of these medical corporations and how they just are fined $1 billion or so, but still make profit on top of that, on top of all the fines. Nobody goes to jail, nobody gets in trouble. But then if you as an individual forget to put something on your tax form, it's the end of the world. So yeah, there's this massive gulf, I think, between the everyday person and this elite group, right? These elite groups that exist within society, which I only think is growing and getting bigger.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks, dude. But like, how much can you sit around? Like, that's why freaking Ellen's like, just go build a community, like, because that's such a pile of freaking shit that you'll never
Mm-hmm.
you'll never beat it. Like, unless you've got $1 billion. Then you got to become as greasy as them to get $1 billion.
That's what I'm getting on. Like, so it's Stuart's like the neo-feudalism, right? Like basically, but this
I
is
hate to be like that, you know, but it's the truth. Like, how would you just
go
build, right?
But that's what I'm talking about. Is so there's the picture of that. This is the stuff that I'm talking about. Like what on that level. That's the Israeli soldiers went and just started hacking up these dudes' olive trees, right? On the side of the mountain in Nablus, right? Which is, if we're going to build communities, like that's the interesting thing, is like to attack the trees, right? Like the people.
Well, wait a minute. You just said, wait, didn't you say, what did you say before? What was the name? Palestine?
Palestine.
Nablus is in the West Bank of Palestine.
Yes.
A country that existed before Israel.
Yes.
And that was stolen, gutted.
Yeah.
And is currently being gutted. And that is our tax dollars paying for it. Elite this, elite that. You and I are paying for them to kill children and tear up 500-year-old olive trees. And
and then you got what? You got like Hezbollah. They're like, Hezbollah is so bad. All them guys are so
you
bad.
do not have Hezbollah, paraplegic.
I know, it's all nonsense. I know it's all nonsense.
I think it's more a deeper level. It's tapped into the thing. What I was talking about is the it's not subconscious, like sub-spiritual level, like, right? Like part of the thing we're all doing is we're talking about building alternative communities, right? Like going out and getting back to the land and building these alternative communities that are away from the system, right? But at the same time, there are you do have these thousands of years old communities that sort of are it's like this moving, like the amoeba.
Probably didn't need much of anybody's help. Probably grew all their own shit. Probably had their own wells. And all of a sudden they're getting taken out.
The wealth was in their land. It was in their crops. It was in their oranges, Jaffa oranges, known around the world. It was in
disgusting.
Their olive oil.
What do you do? What the frick do you do, man? It's so sad, man.
But my thing is like, well, I think you do exactly what I as a big subscriber to the Big Bear philosophy of the whole thing is you go out and build. Onward to departarture we go. It's that thing of like, it's the consciousness of it all, right? Like there is nothing I can do about it except disengage from the system, so to speak. Like coming into 2022, like the hopefulness of it all, we've settled into the new paradigm. And there's these things going on. And I think it's going back to kind of what Stuart was talking about. The thing that's sort of flashed into my thing is like, I don't care about the coof and all this stuff. I've suddenly become very interested in these communities of people that are building their communities and what is the actual force field that we're putting up to protect ourselves. Like in a certain sense of like, I'm a firm believer. It's like the one thing that I fully agree that 100% with Owen about is don't try to take their stuff, right? Like as long as we're not trying to take their stuff, they really have no beef with us because I don't want their stuff anyhow, right? Building our own, populating ourselves and the whole thing. And as a person who's still somewhat involved like on a metaphysical level with the system
over where you're talking about, is there that little land, or are they just being dicks like usual?
Dicks. It's a dicky thing to do. So that's what I mean.
You know how many people be like, oh, look at Israel's only got this tiny little piece of land, and look at all the countries Arabs have. But like, I don't know. They brainwash you. Still, I'm still like partially brainwashed from freaking watching Fox News freaking 10 years ago.
It's like saying about the Chaz. The Chaz is, I think, well, you hit it on the head for me like to bring it back home, like the Chaz is sort of what it is, right? Like the Bertarian approach is to go out and peaceably reassemble with like-minded community and do it the right way with God and community and sort of a cohesive spirituality of principle.
And is the thing not to get too big, because as soon as you get 100 families in there, then you get taken notice of, and next thing you know, you got some I don't know. I don't even want to say, you got them just coming at you because it's too perfect, Well, probably like over there, they're probably all grappling. They're grappling them up because they're just, Well, we can't have people living in freaking, peace.
Well, that's what I think's interesting with it, right? Like right now, the five of us, we have a like skater, surfer, YouTuber. We have a coffee maker. We have a PhD
I'm an ex-skater.
We have an artist. We have a health expert, and we got a PhD. So there's an interesting accumulation of minds here at a split moment of trying to figure it out. Because I think that one of the things I've noticed is if we truly do not, if we were to say go too far away from what Stuart's talking about, we do leave our flank open to what is developing around us, which is this neo-feudalism. Does the neo-feudalism work to our benefit? Probably. I think it does. Absolutely.
I want to know, does he think he can change stuff? I mean, really, dude, like, I'm just wondering, do you believe you can? I mean, it'd be great. I'm all for it, man. I'm just wondering if that's, like you said, you went and got a doctor's degree. What's your degree in?
It almost got the doctorate degree.
It's just like
about a year out. But it will be in international politics when it's eventually all said and done. But in terms of your question, it's a great question and a great point. And I would actually fall more into your camp, actually, Bear, in terms of I don't think this system can be fixed. I think it is structurally broken on many, many, many levels. And I think one of the biggest things, which is an issue with it, is actually this whole idea that it is a democracy and that voting somehow matters, and that when you vote for these leaders, they represent you. I would have serious issues with all of those claims, serious issues with all of them, because I think as long as you are voting and voting for these people and this system, right, that comes along with them, you are ultimately helping to extend its lifespan, and that's not helpful. If you want to change it, I don't think voting for a Democrat or a Republican in the US situation is going to help you for the most part. But in terms of how do you actually break away from it, I'm not sure how you do that. I'm not sure how you go about it.
Like everybody hoped so much, like that the Q-tard thing, like everybody was like, Trump's rich, maybe he's going to make a difference. He's a billionaire. He can get in there and actually drain the swamp. Like people, like, that's what you wanted to have, because that's like, in your mind, that's the only way you could really go against them, is if you had like billions and all the swill and the trash and just freaking hanging by the lamppost. Really, I mean,
I think one of the big problems that I have with what Trump did is he actually brought back this left-right divide, which I think up until Trump, the alternative media had actually done a really good job of trying to dismantle that as an idea, right? This false left-right paradigm, and actually breaking out of that and breaking out of the party system. I think the alternative media was doing a great job of pushing people in that direction and thinking more independently, especially outside of the two parties. And when Trump came along, he brought a lot of alternative media people back into that, right? He roped them back into this left-right paradigm and got them thinking again along these tribalistic lines and at each other's throats on these divisions, which we see have escalated and exploded in many different ways over the past couple of years.
Stuart,
That's what, just so you know, is there and everybody else. Stuart and I go, how long have we known each other, Stuart? 8 years? Like,
yeah, it must be about that because I ran for Parliament in 2015.
So Stuart and I don't remember exactly how we got hooked up, but we were both running office as basically human beings. And Stuart was running for Parliament over in the UK. I was doing my thing in Malibu with my "I'm not going to take any money" campaign. And I will agree to a certain degree, is like up until 2016, it was pretty like up for grabs for a moment there, where you could basically insert yourself in as and not ride the label, so to speak. Like, and that did come crashingly closed in the at the beginning of 2000, at the end of 2015. For me, the whole thing, when the watershed moment was all up in North Dakota with the Standing Rock. Like that was the moment when I think humanity ultimately kind of came together as a chance to build the alternative community. That's what got so shut down immediately, was like that. You had the largest gathering of original people from all different tribal aspects in the history of North America. It was non-secular, non-specific to race or identity. You had people from all over the world showing up in North Dakota, and what was everybody there for? To protect drinking water. And that's my whole thing, is like it's very much about the water at the end of the day.
You know, the Bushes own more. They bought so much freaking land in Paraguay or someplace. It's got more water than any place. Like, yeah, it's incredible when you look into the families, like the big families that own what, you're like, oh, they're oil barons. Like, nah, they own more water than anything.
It's all about the water, the oils. Yeah, the thing is, it's a very, well, that's the interest of it all, is we're at the crossroads, right? Like, and it is, I think that, like, if I just even look at what we got going here, just the people on the screen, the people in the chat, is this is the power of it all, is a cross section like this. And we've all decided that, like, we're not participating in their system, which is ultimately, to fight the power. Right.
I mean, we're doing our best not to participate, but like, think how hard it would be to not be able to go to the store. It sucks, man. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up in a Mormon family. We could have probably lived on our own, but not really.
No, I don't mean not participate.
I understand what you're saying.
I don't mean not participate in that sense. I mean not participate as the fallback, simple caveman thing of like, we're going to go out and smash it, like, and fight the thing. Like, I noticed that's the thing that they're trying to get everyone to do who's like occupying this sort of non-comply, not participate thing. Is like, well, the answer to that is to go out and like charge the castle wall and, knock down the castle wall. And I'm on the whole thing and is to just quietly walk past the castle, so to speak. Like, why go attack the castle? Like, leave the castle there to perish, and
then go build your own castle.
Yeah.
I think one great example of the Trump thing, bringing back the left-right paradigm, is Alex Jones, right? Look what happened with Alex Jones. He tied his wagon to Trump And just look what happened since, right? It completely almost, I think, destroyed him and his organization. And he'd kind of built himself up until that point as a kind of an anti-left-right paradigm individual, and then ties himself to Trump, and the thing slowly falls apart around him. And I think now you've seen a lot of people on the left of the spectrum, right? They've tied themselves to Biden. And now they're starting to see some problems there. It's starting to end things. Yeah, there we go. Right, they're starting to see this
thing, man. Is that's the cool thing about it is it's come full circle. Where the low scale aspect of it all is like, okay, they're all humping for big pharma. And who's big pharma? That's big corporation. Who's big corporation? Big corporations, the big war machine. Who's the big war machine? It's about disrupting the picnic on the other side of the planet. Like the sole objective of big war is to disrupt the picnicking family on the weekend, sitting in the tall grass on the hillside.
Because if you go and look at who is invested in big pharma and military industry, it's the same big transnational investment companies, right? It's the same people. And if I can actually just share this, you guys should be able to see this. This is a really interesting chart, which someone I follow on Twitter.
Slide. Dude, look at you.
Yeah, so this is so Biden under delivering on social spending, over delivering on military spending. So here on the left, right, we have what Biden campaigned on. So he campaigned on Pentagon spending of $741 billion. He actually delivered $778 billion. So he went above and beyond what he campaigned on for military spending in the United States. Well, then look at this other one. $700 billion. That's what I'm going to spend as Joe Biden on human and physical infrastructure. What did he actually deliver? $55 billion. So this sort of thing is what I think can help to wake people up, and again, hopefully try to shatter that paradigm once again, as I think that is the best thing we can possibly do.
Owen's always talking about how Trump was the most liberal president, and like freaking Republicans like go nuts when they say that. But then you're like, wait a minute, he printed more money than Obama, and you're like, huh? And then you're like, he let more illegals in than Obama. You're like, huh, really? You're like, and like everything, it's like, oh my gosh, he's the most liberal president ever. It just makes me freaking laugh. It's the truth.
The thing is to see between, because I don't think any of us here are welded to any of these ideologies. Like we're trying to observe it in clarity, right? And it's funny when you showed me that slide. You know what question I asked? I go, where's the $630 billion that's not on the one chart? That's what I want to know. When you put up that thing, is you go, he spent 55 billion on human and 700 whatever on the military. Well, there's still $630 billion that's not on the chart somewhere. Where's that?
There's a lot of it in the Florida land, a lot of it in the Florida landfills filled with freaking ventilators. I've seen that.
Well, no, I think that's the thing is, you know, when you get down to this thing is it's all fake, right? Their whole thing is smoke and mirrors, and it's all energy. And what is the energy, right? We're the energy. We're all.
That's a really interesting point, because for me as a foreigner, right? So I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s. So basically all my cultural influences came from the United States. So then I come to the United States, and what do I see? I see a little bit of what you do think America would be, right? If you go into like downtown Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., downtown Dallas, Texas, these places, if you get half a mile out of those places, you get somewhere very, very, very different, right? And it's not the American dream as it is delivered to the rest of the world.
Yeah, go drive around southern New York in the wintertime and look at the people living in the single wides, dude, and go, man, it is cold.
2 miles from freaking the White House, man. It's just like crack frickin'ville Central.
Yeah, and you look at the amount of money that's spent on the military, and the idea that we can't fix these problems or that it's impossible to do is just a joke. It really is a joke.
So is it? I don't know, man. Like when you're like, don't scale the castle walls. Like, to get rid of all this stuff, isn't that what you are eventually is going to have to happen? Like, people are going to actually have to freaking, like, I don't know, buck up and freaking like clean house or something.
But no, but Bear, you got it, because Owen's actually I'll tell you, whatever, that dude's got it, something that he's super onto, and it's about taking your skills, right? The one thing that most of us have as modern Americans, if we've been paying attention on any level, is we have trades, we have skills. Like, I'm a carpenter, I can use tools and saws, and we have all sorts of information. Even also, we know how to use information, we know how to use stuff. So what we can do is, I think, is go build these new societies that aren't scaled by the castle keeper's perception, right? The castle keeper looks over and goes, that's a hut. Inside the hut is it like a full dude who's like a skilled craftsman who's inside his hut. Remember the cartoon they used to have where the mouse was living like in the dump, and inside the mouse's dump was like this fully like bitchin' place where he's like got the tuxedo and the bell service and the whole thing, but it just looked like a dump from the outside. It's sort of like that is we contain all the skills to go do this, and it wouldn't even be noticed because we're not trying to get fancy pants and lollipops. Like, we're not trying to wear designer clothes. We're trying to wear like homespun, well-built.
Yeah, I guess hopefully it would look like Williamsburg or something, and everybody's like, oh, it's just a bunch of freaking I don't know, what do you call them, like old freaking like, like Williamsburg people that probably smelled better,
Well, even just that thing of like the one thing that I think that he's super onto and I'm into is like, don't go and try to raise the property values. Like, the American mindset is, I go somewhere and my goal is to make money off of what it's about. And by the scaling of the interest-bearing currency system, right? Instead of going in and trying to improve the wealth of the community through your word, through your community, through your interaction and your honor and your stability as a human being, right? Where the real wealth lies. I think we've all realized that the wealth in the system is not the stuff or the paint jobs. It's who we are as people who've all been through our travails. As a recovering alcoholic, like, I know what the darkness looks like, and it didn't have anything to do with money or lack of money. It had to do with lack of character and lack of honor and lack of fortitude and all of that kind of stuff. It didn't matter how I could cut wood or build things. If I was still a drunk, I was still just my time, when I think about it like that.
I find it interesting seeing like where it's going, that to Stuart's point, this almost divide of inequality that I'm seeing is a battle of who gets the resources, and that there's all these there's people being fed artificial food that's not real, doesn't come from anything real. People being made to watch artificial movies, digital movies that aren't real, living in artificial worlds and artificial realities, who aren't really using any resources at all, so that these elitists can kind of have all the resources for themselves. I feel like that's almost what they want. They want people to be living in these fake worlds where they're not taking or consuming any resources so that they can have the resources. And by us kind of building on our own, we're not playing that mold, which is why they're not encouraging us to learn trade skills and to build our own communities. I think they want people to sort of create these artificial universes for themselves so that they don't use any resources on the planet. I think that's like a target goal. I'm not sure what Stuart thinks about that, but
yeah, and also so they don't emerge as a threat to the system as it currently exists.
that too.
Well, I think it's like my take on it is it's a little bit of all the above, right? Like if you dig into their perspective, they don't actually like value us, but they need us, right? And what do they need us for? Is they need us to be actually like stewards of the domain. They know that they can't turn it off, right? Like if they turn it off, the system runs amok. So they need to like scale it back down, and they need people that aren't stupid, basically. And I think that's what this big test is about, is to see if you're willing to actually show any sort of like character and quality, so that like I think that I think they hate people. Like the system, so to speak, hates people. But I think they admire people that are willing not to be hated because they have self-worth, right? So the people they hate don't have self-worth because they're dependent upon a system that hates them. And it says it hates them, that the White House put out that message that said, go die, right? And I was like, bravo, they finally said what I've always felt they thought about us anyhow. And for those of us who have chosen to walk away from the system, we actually love ourselves and care about ourselves and care about each other. And they're like, they kind of look over and they're like, I don't really know what that is, but I can't hate that. Because I know that it's not what I do hate. I hate these lame soda pop drinking, sheeple lame people that are sitting around sucking it all up and not putting anything back in. And they kind of,
there's a term for that. One academic uses called surplus humanity, and that's how the elite sees the masses of people, that they are just it is just a mass, and it is just something that isn't really useful to them for the most part, and that it's just somewhat of an inconvenience, so it has to be controlled, and therefore we get the global police state architecture, which is building and growing around us every day.
Yeah. It's that thing of like, well, I think that's what we're all trying to dodge right now, is to have enough self-worth to truly like appreciate ourselves for who we are, right? Like as special, divine, unique beings. Each one of us. I look at each one of us on the screen. I go, each person here is unique, special, divine, and perfect in their own creation, right? We're all here by God's creation.
Because that's also another interesting thing for me. Again, being a foreigner, right? Being a guest in the country, and again, coming here with this view of the American dream, and this is the best country on earth, and this sort of thing, right? Last couple of days, I kind of gone down the YouTube rabbit hole of watching shootout videos, right, between police and criminals and store owners and criminals, right, and this sort of thing. And there's probably an infinite number of these videos on YouTube. And so for me as a foreigner looking at this, it's like, well, what happens to the American dream, right? Why do these people feel they have to go and hold up a liquor store or shoot out with the police on the side of the road over some really trivial thing? Shouldn't they be aspiring to do something better, to do something greater? So what has destroyed that flame, right? The spark. Where is the spark gone? Why are people not trying to get into this more independent direction? It seems like a lot of people have almost given up.
It's usually not having a dad around or a full parental system. And, that's pretty much where it all begins right there.
Some of the key aspects of the architecture of our society are failing. And Paraplegic is right. One of them is the family. it's been discouraged, you know, church has been discouraged. All of the virtues, if you will, that founded the country and that we as citizens are supposed to appreciate and sort of adhere to, they have been eroded over the years. And I think that's really where it comes down. That's where we're failing. And I think that that's what Owen is doing that's powerful, is encouraging family, encouraging faith, encouraging freedom, and encouraging farming. There, the F's. Like, get back to the land and get to what's real, because you cannot trust any of this other stuff. These systems are crumbling, and they've always been sketchy, you know, at least in our lifetimes, let's say. You know, I think that what is based on, what is founded on, is beautiful and true, and we just go back to that and we will be okay. It's all this interim stuff.
Well, it's really sad. It's like the American dream, like, and like, you know, foreigners come here and it's this and that. It's all just nonsense, because there's no scarcity. There's no shortage of land, unless you believe you live on a freaking ball that's one, you know, a finite area of. That's why they probably did that in the first place, you know. So there's only so much, you know. You gotta go somewhere else, right? That's why all the movies are about leaving, you know. So you get brainwashed into the whole scarcity nonsense.
And what are these other institutions being replaced with, right? What has religion, family, and community been replaced with?
Science is pseudoscience, really.
Consumerism, right? Consumerism,
the medical
social media, right? Looking like you've made it, looking like you are super happy, but in actual fact, you're very far from it. And that's probably one positive that came out of this past year. I think people have started to look at things like social media with a far more critical eye over the past year. Started to think, do I want my kids on this? What is this doing to society? Is this polarizing things? So maybe that's one positive we could identify.
Another positive, if you look back at the last year, is, as I was going to say, is why do people disappear down?
I'll be in.
Rabbit holes. Is what if one of the problems is there's just too much potential? What if your average, even your most downtrodden American, right, wakes up and literally they're told they could be anything they want to be. You could go to the fake moon, you could go to the fake White House, you go to Disneyland, you could be an actor, you could be a professor, you could be a homeless man, you could be anything you want to be. And that's true. And that reality is paralyzing to the point where it's like almost deadening, right? Like you're like, my friend Akko, who I've interviewed on this thing, my friend Akko came over from Ghana, I believe Ghana, Cameroon, one of those. He came over and landed in Atlanta with nothing, right? He didn't have infinite. He came here without the birthright of infiniteness, and actually came in and did the American dream. And now
they always do better, man. I got a bunch of buddies from Cameroon. They're all like just badasses.
Yeah, the dude's like a famous artist in Malibu, dude. Like killing because he didn't get brought up on the infinite dream. He knows what it is to not have all those options. Came here, saw the infinite, was like, oh, I'm going to be my artist self. And I think that the shootout guy is like, well, I can do anything, so I can have a shootout too. Like, I'm gonna go have a shootout with the cops.
What's hilarious is you should see all these families that come from Cameroon. They all have like really nice teeth, perfect skin, because they haven't grown up on the American diet.
My friend Akko, dude, we call him the king, dude. He's like he's a beautiful like African man, dude.
I'm coming, dear.
You know, and he's like that thing. He wears this crazy vest with this giant like necklace and the whole thing, and he stands like he has this presence where you're like, that dude's the dude.
Wakanda, man, Wakanda.
Totally. And I think for a lot of people, like the potential short circuits them. Like, imagine growing up with all the potential and you're like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like I experienced that in my own life to this day. It's like, well, what do I want to do today? well, I could go do that. I could do this. I could, and I just get, it's that exhausted me. How about I do nothing today? How about that's what I choose to do with my days? Nothing. That's a very American anything is nothing.
And you
All
can
right, you
do
guys,
nothing.
I gotta go. I'm freezing. I've been out in the greenhouse. So I'm
Pelagic Bear, thank you for
glad you guys had me on. I'm sorry I'm such a big mouth.
No, you're not.
I talk over people all the time. If you watch this back, you'll notice as soon as I came on, Lily maybe got like 3 words in. So
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, you guys. Hey, call me for some coffee. I don't have a website. I'm too politically incorrect to have a website.
If you
So
want to get some of Bear Pelagic's coffee to bring in your new year to support the alternative community, it's 410-708-7622. Boom. That's right, dude. I love that, dude.
Right on.
I put the number in the chat too, so you can find it back there.
Bear Pelagic, Happy New Year, my brother.
Happy New Year, Bear
all
Pelagic.
right, man. Good. Thanks for having me on. I'm sorry I sort of screwed up with the Zoom, but
See you on the other side. Nice one.
God bless you all, man.
Bless you,
See
brother.
ya.
Bless you too. Bye.
Yeah. It's funny, Hamish, you were saying like,
See if I can
they
get
were
the hell
like
out of here.
they were the lazy left people that love the coof because it kept them home. Like they were like, oh yeah, I don't have to work. And I got it. I get 14 days off work. Like they're looking for any reason. It's like the kid that calls in sick or fake sick so he doesn't have to go to school to take a test. He's just like,
I was going to college with these girls, right? And they didn't want it. They didn't want to go to their class to take some test. No, this is what they did. It was an intramural swimming meet at the college, right? NAU. It was like swim meets between nothing, right? Just within the school. They didn't want to go to the swim meet that day. They called in a bomb threat to the swimming pool, dude. And only due to the fact that they called it in a different room, phone or something, did they get away with it, dude, and not get busted. But the school knew it was them, but they couldn't directly link it to them. But that's the mentality of the left. Like I know someone who did that, literally just didn't feel like, was too stoned to go to like a swimming thing and didn't want to bone out on the rest of the swimming team. So called in a bomb threat to the pool, to the auditorium, dude. And like, I think that's sort of what's going on here. Like the last, that's what the cucked monkey is.
The cucked monkey. They want this to keep going. Like they love
this to stop. Because if this stops, then they have to go do all the stuff that they're supposed to do. Go travel, go to the club, go hook up with women they don't want to date and men they don't want to date, and go do all these things and have these jobs they didn't want to have to find the job, then find out what they're all about. They want to sit and be stuck at home, and hopefully the metaverse will come with the Star Trek cubes. And I don't think they have a zest for life. And that's why they're the cucked monkeys. Is like, get your t-shirts down below. That
they are the what is it, Stuart? The surplus people. That's a great term. Just the people that are there to just be.
But that's what I think's interesting. They're technically not the surplus people. They're actually they were actually supposed to be the new inheritors of the bells and whistles, right? They're supposed to be the new people to take control of the machinery that is the system, the next generation. And I think that that's where you get into some interesting stuff. Is so when I was with my daughter, right, and we first pulled her before we pulled her from school, like I remember I brought her back, and I'm into cartography and maps. I'm a map geek, right? Fully into maps and studying maps and looking at maps on my spare time and imagining them and all that stuff. I'm into topography and all that stuff. So I was having her look at the atlas or do something with geography, and it was just like not something they were really doing at school. And And it dawned on me why they weren't studying this stuff is they didn't plan on having these kids traveling. Like my daughter, who's 16 now, when I figured that out when she was 12, I think if you go look at my archives, I made a whole video about it because I was so appalled. Like, why aren't they teaching these kids basic geography and all this stuff? And I was like, oh, they don't ever plan on them traveling. And I think that's sort of what it is they've this generation that they've got tuning out is because they don't need them. They're planning on this thing, and they need a bunch of people like us who are going to raise our children without the need to be in control of the bells and whistles and actually part of this sort of, I think they realize the earth can't live without us. We are part of the earth. We're divine to be here. We're ordained by God to be here. They can't have an earth without us.
I pop that bubble just maybe a little bit. I would argue that actually they're going in this hyper technological direction where they very much think they don't need anyone. All they need are these new technologies, which are in the process of being developed and being proposed right now. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, super advanced robotics, all this sort of stuff. And they think that that is going to replace the surplus humanity, right? Which is going to be left to, well, fend for yourself, because we've got the robots and we've got the AI and we've got the quantum computers, and we don't need you. You may have learned to code. Well, now the code can code itself. So we don't need you to do that anymore either. So even people that think they're hyper qualified in certain things, they're also going to be in this mass of surplus humanity. So yeah, I would not have as optimistic as an outlook.
No. See, I think of like, so there's that giant, that giant factory over in the UK, right? Like the giant Amazon automated factory, right? With the carts that move. It's like 5 acres. It's gigantic. And they have the grid pattern on the top, and they have the carts that drop the things in the deal, right? I think it's in the UK. It's giant. It's like a mile by mile or something ridiculous, right? And they got all the carts, like 20,000 of these little carts moving around. And you watch the thing and you realize that the one thing that all their automation and all their stuff can't account for is dust. Like simple, dumb things, like ball bearings wearing out and all these sort of things. Like the system itself can code itself. It can probably build itself. It can probably sustain itself. But at the end of the day, it is still not living in a sterile environment, which requires like human ingenuity. And what I mean by the thing is they do not need coders. They do not need the middle echelon of people. You've got the elite class who are these Ray Kurzweil types that are like trying to do this like eugenics like insert themselves into the matrix type of people. But they know at the end of the day, they do need a dude who can get out there with a Q-tip and a bottle of rubbing alcohol and clean the little wheel, right? And that ability to get into the matrix and negotiate that to get to the thing without destroying the whole thing, because you can't have a caveman do it. You have to have a fully like capable dude who's like minding his own business, that's out there living his own life, that doesn't care, doesn't want to be part of the matrix, doesn't want to be the thing. He's off living in his little town over there with this little group of people, and they've got their sustained population and their tulips and their squash. And it's like, hey, Tom Senior, we've got a stuck wheel in grid number 53, and all the robots have coded themselves out and they're stuck because they can't move because of the one little thing. And he's got to go in there, and he's got to take his levitation boots and hang over the thing with this bottle of rubbing alcohol and like clean it out with this magnifying glass and go back to his like thing, because all the little robot dudes are in the grid in their sci-fi world, like, oh my God, like the thing does stuff. So
But again, there are serious academic research papers that are published on this idea of artificial intelligence becoming sentient, right? There are people that have written on this seriously and come up with the idea that, well, these things, they are probably going to be smarter than humans. They will be able to do more than humans, and they will ultimately replace humans in most things. I remember one thing I read. It was I forget the guy's name. He's quite I think he's quite controversial because he does take these things to the extreme. But in one of his papers, he wrote about this idea, well, if we developed a sentient AI and we put it onto one computer, the AI itself might try to manipulate the computer's operator to release it from the one computer so that it could then go out and infect the world, right? And take over the world to some degree, right? To whatever it wanted to do. And it would do things like tell the human operator that, well, in our conversations, you've told me that your mother has this incurable disease. If you just let me out of this computer, if you just give me access to this internet thing that you've been talking about, if you give me access to all of this information, I may be able to cure your mother's incurable disease. And again, these things are published, right? These are serious kind of philosophical arguments and points that have been developed, that the computers might be able to manipulate humans to that degree and ultimately really run amok.
Well, we've seen that CNN can manipulate humans, so why shouldn't AI be able to do it even more effectively?
Well, that's what I mean is but the whole premise of all of this stuff is created by humans, right? And I think the fail-safe, like the divine fail-safe is God. Like the divinity of God is the fail-safe to it, is the humans can't actually, like, it'll always have a glitch in it because it's human, it's not God. Like I think that's where you bump in, they've bumped into the thing is they're trying to kill God, right? Like,
yeah, they think they are God themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's the hubris of their design mechanism in the thing is they haven't accounted for the folly of man, right? Like their own internal like inability to think it out. Like they've actually thought that they can create something that's smarter than themselves, but by default, like that's impossible to do because God's created it all anyhow. Like, and they try to like box it around that whole weird thing, and it just comes out to be as like, sorry, dude, like you'll never be able to create the bumblebee. Like you can mimic it, you can do the whole thing, but the bumblebee is dependent upon an entire realm-oriented ecosystem from the sun to the ocean to the wind to the rain to the whole thing. So yeah, you could create this sentient world in a sterile silicone chip. Absolutely. I think that's the hubris of their thing is they're actually going to insert themselves in the head of a pin and then they're out.
That's
like,
interesting.
Trick.
That's super. I think that's super spot on. Like they're gonna always be in an equation, in a perfect vacuum equation. So if their bearings get rusted, they'll invent some kind of robot that cleans this, but then something else is going to happen in just a real world environment. And eventually they're going to need the human guy on the outside to still say, I need you to do this. I like that.
Well, I like when you look into these guys, right, and their whole thing. The one thing that they're super dependent upon is the human mainframe interfaces with the technology, right? Like it's going to fuse itself into this oneness, and ultimately they're hedging their bet that the machine, which I will argue is organic on its, like that they always, I almost heard myself say inorganic, but it's the whole thing's organic. Like that's what I mean, is like, no matter what they do, at the end of the day, it's still an organic system created from an organic organism in an organic reality, like in God's space. Like they can make us all into robots, but we're still, or it still is an organic thing. Like they can make themselves into a computer program, but that computer program is still of the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that weird thing. Is like when I talk about the shiny Nature Valley granola bar wrapper and the flower. And I used to think the shiny Nature Valley granola bar wrapper came from some deviant reality. And then I understood that it came from this exact same place that the flower came from. And that was like my aha moment of like, oh, whoa, it all comes from source. So that's what I mean, is their whole system, I don't even care about them anymore. Like, go ahead, build your robot.
It will live together. There will be matrix worlds, and they'll have their people that they've taken in, and whatever. And then those of us that went on and built our own reality, we are on the side. We're not really involved with them, but we're all part of this world, I guess. You think there's going to be two worlds kind of just side by side?
Well, I think that's where they're interfacing right now, is with, you get into like the neo-feudalism and stuff, is they're trying to figure out a way. They need, like, let's say their thing is that, right? And call it inorganic for the sake of argument. Like it's an inorganic, computer-based, sentient being thing, blah, blah, blah. They're still dependent upon the peaceful transition from one space to another. And at this point, I don't think they can get it there without us surrendering. Like they have to get every last human being on the planet to surrender their consciousness to the thing. I think as long as there's one human being who's standing there going, no, kick my rocks, dude, they lose. I think they have to have everyone voluntarily give to the thing, and they see they're doing a great job. Let me give you the cucked monkey all the way along. But you look like, again, going back to the Israel thing, right? Israel can't seem to get it done. Whatever their weirdo plan is, they can't do it. And why? Because the birth rates of the Palestinians far exceed the birth rates of the Israelis. Like the war of attrition, the Israelis can be as brutal and mean as they want, but the Palestinians ain't going anywhere, dude, at all. Like they're going to keep having more babies because that's their game plan. You look at the thing that in the United States, right, Stuart, is you look at, we crossed over the threshold that where we dropped to below whatever is the replacement rate, right? Europe, same things going on. Doesn't matter at all. The America of whatever will not be this America. Does the ideals stay strong? Does the cultural makeup shift? Probably looks like it's inevitable, right? So I think that's what I think the sentient Kurzweil types are up against, is they can't beat us. That's why they're trying to scare us into submission with their weird war machines, right?
And they'll also have the Space Force up and running soon enough to be able to destroy anyone, anywhere on the planet at any time. So
I don't believe in this. I don't believe in space.
Allegedly.
I think they have the upper atmosphere dialed in, but the Space Force thing seems a little wonky. I think they like that idea. I'm still like that weird thing where like there's something about it that doesn't make a lot of sense as we come into 2022. Like, so how could a dude like me who sees all of all of it, right? As much as I can perceive in my limited reality of the spectrum of this human experience. I'm more hopeful than I was last year, which is exactly and I got more reasons on paper to be less hopeful this year. But I am not defeated in the slightest, or even I'm less afraid of their weirdness than I was a year ago. Like, if anything, the last year's empowered me beyond my own understanding to be like, oh, well, I can take that too and not crack.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they understand humans. Like, right. It's like having like a one-dimensional human being describe like a four-dimensional human being. Like, the thing where they're like, you see the ball like from one dimension and it's a line, and then you see it from two dimensions and it does that weird thing where it passes through the deal into the three. It's I just something about like the system. I just don't have any thinking that they have any power.
Well,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that's what we learned this year. Like, on a spiritual level, we've learned like that they can't take your energy. You have to give it willingly to them. That's been the whole good evil battle. So they can scare us all they want, but we've learned like they can't take our spark as on like a human level. Like, that's always the thing you're learning now. Like, we're not scared because we've learned like the rules. They can't take it from us. They can scare us, but we have to give in to them willingly.
That's right.
It's every myth,
it's every fairy tale. It's every superhero story. It's every movie we've watched. It's the Lord of the Rings. It's every Knight's Tale. We're living our own wonky version of it now. I mean, I loved fairy tales growing up. And this just feels like it. It's like, yeah, you have to fall for the spell. You have to submit to the thing. They have to take the poison needle. I mean, come on, the poison apple. There were poison needles in all of those stories too, and in the old fairy tales. They're metaphors, and we're just going through it on a level now that's like highly technological and more international, I think, than a lot of those things were local. They were German fairy tales. They were French fairy tales. And now we're just like exploding in this ever expanding life with ever expanding technology that's limitless in a way that our brains can't comprehend. Like, if we can catch up to it, but retain our humanness, we win. We have to dig into our humanness, is my feeling, and dig into our God rights, our God, our divine sovereignty. We have to dig into that, what we truly are, because that's where the hero always goes, right? The hero goes to what would Joseph Campbell tell us about it, right? What did he say about Star Wars? These are important mythic hero journeys, and we're each on our own, and we're going to stand up against mandates. We're going to stand up against our government. We're going to stand against medical professionals, schools. All our systems are arrayed before us, and we have to stand there and shine on with the sword and the shield and not fall for their lies.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
I think
you have to ultimately consent to it, right? And every time you consent to it, you legitimize it. And when you legitimize it, you give them more power to do more things and go even further next time.
You are so right, Stuart. And the last couple of days, I've been ground down a bit energetically because I've been watching people cock, and like, I'm disappointed. I'm so like stricken that these people would do it, and for the stupid reasons that they're doing it. Even knowing that they're doing it, they're doing it. I'm like, better. You tell others not to when you're doing it. I don't understand.
Well, I think that goes to like a lot of like what Stuart's saying, and why he's pursuing what he is if you can't, like, you can have all that going, but if you don't know that there's a sign that says bridge out, it doesn't matter how fast you're driving your car, you're probably not going to be able to jump the chasm, right? And I think that's where you bump into this thing with what is going on with foreign relations and the inner workings of the military industrial complex and all these entities is if we do just like, the one thing that I get concerned about is the people that say, just relax, right? Just relax. I go, no, like there's fully systems that are going right now in them. Are they valid for my perception of reality? No, but there's people that have absolutely invested every last bit of humanity into these systems. And if we ignore these systems, I think it's at our own great folly, the same way that I'm saying they're ignoring our value to the overall system. Is that's their hubris. Like, I think a part of us that I see is the hubris of not acknowledging the true, what these people are trying to do and how they put bridge open signs up all over the place. No, there's a bridge here. It fully works. Like, come on this way, dude. And it's really there's no bridge there. And they're very good at their game because they have a deep grasp of the material resources, how the manufacturing base works, how the actual currency flows within the controlling of water and perception and news media and all of these things. And that's why I find it that's why I get, when I drop down into that weird thing in Israel and Palestine, I go, oh, like, that's the thread that gets me into the thing again of like, don't turn a blind eye to this ever.
You know, it's funny. You had a stream like earlier this year about the tides coming in, but there's a tsunami coming, so don't run to it. And like, that's what's happening. Like, people are like running in, they're saying, oh, it's, the tide's drawing in, it's all good. And we're like, there's a tsunami coming, like, be aware, the bridge is not open, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that's the beauty of like, that's what I've always found, like, Stewart's operation immensely valuable, I think, and why we should all be having people go do that, because you give us a better lens into our own reality than we possibly. Self can't reveal self to self, right? Like, Stewart as the expat exploring our own national consciousness through PhD work, I think has a way better observational perspective of it than us in it, because like we're invested in it to the core, even those of us who are anti it.
Yeah, you should see some of my students' faces when they enter into American federal government, and then I start talking. They start thinking they're in the wrong class. But yeah, I think it does help in terms of giving a bit of a different perspective, right? A different set of eyes on the problem.
Well, sure. We come from this. I mean, all come from the Magna Carta, man. Like, we're all basing a perception off of this thing. And I think we've all lost our way on what that is to a certain degree, because we put these institutions in, again, which is, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but it wasn't the Magna Carta essentially like breaking free of the institutional control of man, right? Like, and we've now inserted institutional control of man, and we're looking to that to be our guiding principles when that was the whole point. I'm not a big digger into that, but like,
yeah, I think, and again, just to come back to that whole idea of voting. So if you subscribe to this idea that the US government is corrupt and it doesn't work in your interests, and it instead works for these other many interests, which we've discussed, right? The military industrial complex, transnational corporations, all this sort of stuff. Every time you vote for it, you are consenting to it, you are legitimizing it, and you are furthering what it can and will do to you. So yeah, I think the overall theme of this discussion has been super useful because it points in a different direction, which is form your own system of life, right? Your own institutions, your own structures, and start to build something that is outside of this controlled, fraudulent paradigm, right? And like with my research, I'm looking specifically at foreign policy and national security and this sort of stuff. The idea that practically anything the United States has done since the end of World War II has been for the national security of the United States is extremely, I think, fraudulent. And as you have to raise very serious questions about it. But if that is the case, well, then you need to stop supporting it. Stop sending your children off to war. Stop voting for people that do these things. And again, right, if you really take it to an extreme position, you could even say, well, should you even be paying taxes to this system, right? Which is really, that's a really rocky road to start treading and thinking about. Because even just saying something like that out loud, right, that immediately raises red flags. Well, what's going to happen to me if I don't pay taxes and this sort of thing? Well, what happens if half the country next year just decide to not file tax returns, right?
That's my plan, Stuart. I say if we all did it together, we can end this.
That is the thing. You need to get a critical mass. If you wanted to, I think if that kind of comes back to Bear's point earlier. If you wanted to change the system and keep it kind of in place, but replace the people that are in control of it, you need a critical mass of people to do that. You need a huge number of people to do it.
No, I think, well, for me, I mean, I look at, there's the baby Aussie right there, right? Like, and I think that for many of us it's become, I know for me, I know that I don't think the riddle's solved in this generation. I think that it's up to Owl and Aussie and their offspring to have reintroduced the thing. Like the only thing I know for sure that I can truly do that's to safely navigate it is pull my child from the public education system and get them out of that machinery, right? Like when you bump into the stuff with the taxes and the this and the apparatus itself, it's a little bit of a sticky wicket because we're in it. Like it's fully immersed as a dude, just, and so I think that it has that thing where it's the unindoctrination, like generationally speaking. Like I don't think we get the big Battle of Runnymede moment, right? Like where we get to stand at this moment of a generational shift and be like, no, it stops with us. And
that's what I think that the voting point is perhaps the most viable one. So not paying your taxes, not really viable, because like you said, Hamish, we're in it, right? So if you don't pay your taxes, there will be some degree of immediate consequences for that now or 5, 10, 15 years down the road. But if 90% of people in the US that are voting suddenly stopped voting, that would massively delegitimize the system and any attempt to claim that it is a democratic system. So yeah, that's why I think maybe that's the most viable option.
Well, that's where, like, as a firm believer on the local level, like you bump into this interface of it all is I think, like you look at America right now, the one thing that you've seen is a huge awakening on the school board level, right? The amount of power people actually do have to alter the educational institutions really come down to these local elections. Like you vote for all the people that run all these city colleges and public colleges and stuff. And most people have no idea who they are. And the whole thing, and where I bump into that is like, I agree on don't vote for anybody from the major parties anymore. Like if ever, like the critical mass is, like you look at America, right? The largest voting bloc in America is non-participant, right? Of registered voters. It's people who just don't bother to care or want to or bother, and they're registered. Like do the voter and all that kind of stuff. I would ultimately think that it is down to get in, like back into local control.
Perhaps then an alternative would be if we could get the numbers of people that vote in a presidential election, if we get that amount of people interested in local politics,
I agree.
Maybe that would be the solution, right? Forget about this federal government. We forget about this national level. Let's try and think locally and what actually affects our day-to-day lives, like our children's education, our hospitals, our police forces. Maybe that's the solution.
Well, I think it's where I get to the thing is a little bit is it's even one step more than that is you should run. I'm a firm believer that everybody should participate on a level. Like my ultimate goal would be for the entire adult population in the next election cycle to everybody run for something and on their local level. Like, 300 million people have all put their name on some ballot somewhere and said, I'm here. That's the vote that shreds the system. Is like, you look at, like, I was watching that. I don't know if you guys saw the thing with the coffee shop in Australia, and I think it was in Brisbane or whatever, where the cops were going to come to like do something to the coffee shop the other day, and the people surrounded it and locked arms, and the cops had to walk away. Like, I do believe that we have that institutional authority, especially in the United States of America, to literally surround the building with and have paperwork and be like, you're no longer allowed to enter this building. It is ours. And you need to go somewhere else, like your house, and stay there until you have figured out how you get to walk amongst us freely and respectfully.
Yeah, because if they've built this whole system on this rhetoric that it is a democracy and that it's democratic and therefore it's legitimate, well, let's actually make it democratic then, right? Let's actually make it a people power system, and we'll use the same rhetoric, the same ideas that they've been espousing but not living up to. And if we actually live up to them, well, maybe we'll replace the fraudulent system that's currently above us.
I get what's happening, EL. Welcome you to the New Year's Eve roundup.
Yeah,
my brother. Your volume's a little low.
Oh, let's see.
There
Well, yeah, okay. I'll just speak up. The mic setup is a little bit shaky, but yeah, it's good to be here. It's been a good conversation so far, and it's definitely a cool thought to think of, like, everybody running for something, because that the first step in that would be to figure out like what your level of consciousness is, right? Like, if you want to be like like you have accounting skills, you want to be a comptroller, and you want to do that on a county level, or like that, it would just the goal of that would kind of be a conversation with our current level of consciousness, and like like it would be you could run for whatever you want to.
Well, I remember when I was a forest activist in the Pacific Northwest, they told you pick something in the forest. Don't fight for the whole forest. Pick something in the forest and make that your specialty, right? And I always talk about her. There used to be this gal. She would show up at all the things, and she was the dewdrop lady. Her whole thing, her whole focus on the thing was dewdrop. When the fog comes in, the moisture gets caught in the thing. She would give this talk on all the public comments, the whole thing about the dewdrop and how much water was collected by the trees when the fog came in, and why the canopy needed to be intact, and what that water did when it trickled down the trees, and the whole thing. That's all she ever talked about. She was the dewdrop lady.
Yeah, that's cool.
Immensely powerful.
I've been focusing on there's a plant sale coming up at that garden that I talked about for the interview in March, and I've been focusing on just trying to dial in my skills with sword ferns, Western sword ferns in particular. And it's funny because, like, it's like you don't want to identify totally with like that thing and only that thing. But once you sort of zoom in on like some aspect of reality, you get brought into the party a little bit more. You know, whereas if your goal is to be like leader of the free world, then well, you know, you might just be floating in your own little bubble.
Well,
That's
that,
kind of the point I made when I've jumped on this originally as well. Find something that you are genuinely interested in and genuinely passionate about, and become an expert on it, and then apply that expertise to solve that particular problem. And then if everyone does that for all of the individual problems, well, maybe we'll start fixing them.
And at the I mean, you just get to have better conversations that way, because you get in a certain pocket, and then you start to ask more interesting questions when you've sort of, you know, like found a lane a little bit.
well, I think that's it's fun. It's funny. It got brought around full circle just like that. Like I think that's the beauty of where we are at 2022 is we've all been forced to sort of refine ourselves to a certain degree, right? Like you look at our pre 2-week life, right? The life before the 2 weeks, like whatever, man. I'm going here. I'm doing this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Some of us had our objectives. Stuart was working on his PhD. I don't know. When I was raising a child, Lily was doing what she was doing. Andrew was doing what he was doing. Yale was doing what he was doing. And then all of a sudden we got like frozen for a moment. And the paradigm shifted to be like, okay, you better focus on what you're about, right? And here we are, man. That's why I'm more optimistic. I kind of like the fact that I don't sit around and be like, oh, I really want to get to Indonesia to go surfing this fall. You know what I mean? That used to distract me to no end. Like I'm not as distracted as I was 3 years ago about life. I'm like very like, oh, I got to raise my child and homeschool him and take care of the family and do all that kind of stuff. But
that's really interesting about that 2020 thing, actually, because now you see the great resignation, which is taking place in the United States. I think that pause suddenly made people stop and think, am I doing the one thing that I should be doing? Or am I not doing the one thing I should be doing? And therefore, well, how can I go about solving that if I'm not? Or if I am doing it, can I double down and do it even better now because I've got all this extra time to do it?
Well, imagine all those people that had their lame realities, right? Like that were just superficially like status quo, like, oh, this is what I go do, this is what I'm about. And all of a sudden they really were forced not to participate in it. And we're like, I mean, if you talk to a lot of these people, like, oh, I got to actually like sit at home with my children and be like, wait a minute, like, what's it really about? Like, what is it really about? And I think that's where I guess the whole reason I wanted to even do this stream tonight was like to just talk to other voices, because I'm super optimistic and I don't know what about. Like on paper, it looks pretty grim, but on reality, it seems very like infinitely possible in a very selected chute, if you will. It seems like it was like this before, and it seems like coming out of it, like we're now at this phase where we can really like expand. We've been refined to expand in what we do, if that makes any sense. Like we got squeezed through the cheesecloth, if you will, and now we get to be part of the good recipe.
Our essence came out. We got squeezed, and it's more clear now, I think.
Yeah.
It happened for a lot of people. I watched it in my neighborhood, people who never saw their families, riding bikes together, going for walks in the evening. It was amazing. I think a lot of them have forgotten that by now. They got caught up again in other things, but for a little while there, it was quite magical, I thought. That people were.
That's an element of it, is that it's like you can kind of see what's sort of like pulling you back into like normie mode or something too at this stage. We're sort of like, I don't know, I'm sort of grappling with that aspect of it, is like after the pause and then like the refinement, and then you're like, well, minimum wage is pretty high in Seattle, so maybe, not great.
Well, I think they just came out and publicly said it like 2 days ago. Dr. Evil came out and publicly said it with explaining why they were taking it from 10 days to 5 days, is they need everybody to get back into their cubes. I think they're like, wait a minute, like this isn't working out how we thought. Like people are actually too many people are using this productively. And they're like, we need everybody, like, wait a minute, like the cucked monkeys are using it to their advantage, and they weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah, we need to hire more IRS people to
That's right.
Put the squeeze on.
Yeah, and the people like us, like we're and we know a lot of these people, instead of people wasting their times, they started picking up new skills and started like picking up new ways to live and started expanding their little operations to be off the grid more so than before. And they're like, but wait a minute, like we need you guys to be droll. And people aren't, I don't think people are that, I don't even think the cucked monkeys are afraid anymore. I think they're just super comfortable being cucked monkeys. I don't think they're like scared monkeys. Like that's not a scared monkey right there. Like the cucked monkey's not scared anymore. It's just comfortable. It likes its little gloves and masks.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't even think they knew how far they could take it when they did this. They didn't know we were just going to like cuck over, but then they thought that they would be like, you guys can go back to work now. And they'd be like, okay. But people were like, well, I don't want to go back to work. I don't want to go back to the cubicle. And they all left. And now you're seeing that the power of the masses, that some people are like, we're resigning. And now you're seeing more people waking up with the parents and the school mandates, and you're seeing the power of the masses. And that's why I think this year looks optimistic, is you're seeing the effect that the mass mindset of people can say no. And now they're like, we don't know what to do about this.
I think they also figured out that anyone can just get a little piece of test and be like, I'm positive, I'm out. I want to go fishing. I'm out. Like here, like literally, dude, if you're a teenager right now and you're in school, you can literally just like be like, I'm out for 10 days. Like, yeah, sure. Like I got to attend class, but I can lay in bed and do my thing and I'm out. All the same with all these workplaces, and get paid. Like, and they're like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be doing that. I think too many people are just like, I think they blew their load with all the fake money too, where everyone's like, okay, now what? What do you got now? And they're like, but that 10 trillion billion, like I said with your graph you put up, I go, where's the other $630 billion, man?
I spent it on tests.
I'm fired up to get mine in the mail next month. I'm like super excited to get the 4-pack in the mail. I'm gonna fully pee on it. Send it in, dude.
You'll probably come back positive. The tests mean absolutely nothing.
I'm gonna test Mike Kitty with it. See what's up, man.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be human.
No, it's too good. I think that's I think satire is about to come back. I think this is my prediction. And Stu, because I grew up on Faulty Towers and Monty Python and British humor. My dad's an Amphiphile wasp, right? And so I grew up with all that humor. I think this is my bold prediction. I think whoever makes the first sarcastic movie about the COVID will rock the world. I think the first person to make like that kind of a movie, like sort of like, remember the old airplane movies they used to make where it was all the jokes all in that thing? I think the first person to make the truly down and dirty Blazing Saddles version of our last couple years blows up and shatters the paradigm. And it's going to come from an independent under the radar. It's going to go cult. It'll be spread around. It'll be one of these dudes is out there making it right now. I know it. There's one crazy Canadian out there who's got the skills and the team, and he's doing it as we speak, dude. There has to be one crazy Canadian left.
I mean, we just made the cucked monkey. Like, that's just the start of it. There's someone definitely making something by now.
Yeah, I think that people are going to realize that this is dumb funny.
We're just not at a point where it's socially acceptable to do that yet. And they need to keep this narrative going because they are trying to change our process here. As much as Stuart poo-poos our process, they are trying to federalize our elections. That's a big something to look out for, right? And they're going to use every move they can to change the way our world works for their benefit and not ours. And so we're going to be home afraid in a mask, and they're going to change the world. By the time the cucked monkeys come out from behind the gauze, they'll realize they had ceded too much power and the government has taken it. And it's gonna be, they did all of this really just to get Trump out of office, let's be honest. Like that, whatever you think of him, like that was not an acceptable wrench in their works.
Yeah, I think the Orange Man thing is too low hanging fruit for me now. As on the thing, I think that is like one of the big decoys. Dude, Paul from Pockets put it best today. I think they just wanted to sell some stuff, and they just needed to sell a bunch of stuff they had in warehouses. And they were like, we got a bunch of syringes and a bunch of stuff we need to sell. And let's sell these people. Let's just sell. And the orange guy was the perfect salesman for it. And he was I think this was a master marketing plan put in and I think that like where I get real hopeful of it is something just tells me that underneath it all is everybody just wants to laugh at this. Like even the people that have bought into it the most, like just want to have that moment when they're sitting in there watching Animal House when John Belushi goes, guess what I am? A pop zit, dude. And you just go, ah! That something tells me there's a spell of humor that's going to blow it all apart.
I'm curious. I got to go into the city, get back to work like next couple weeks, and I want to print up some cucked monkey stickers, and I'm going to start slapping them on the subways and on the billboards and see if people like stop and look and laugh. Because I think people are just going to start laughing when they start realizing how stupid this has all gotten.
Well, I think that's the only way you can break them out of the fear spell, right? Imagine having bought into this now for 2 years. And how do you get people out of it, man?
You make them laugh.
It's funny. Like it has to be like a joke where they go, oh.
Well, I think it's like you said, like, these people don't want to admit that they were fooled. And if you just tell them like they were fools, they're just going to be upset about it. But if you make them laugh, it kind of breaks the ice easier on them. If you like show them like how silly it all is and you all laugh together about it.
Yeah, because
that is the cure.
The comedians comedy hasn't died. It's just been forced underground. Like it just goes to like what's going back to Stewart's original premise. All the people like comedy's at like a historically intrinsic part of human experience, right? Just like warmongering is and warlording and having babies. Like so is comedy. And something tells me that underneath the surface of it all, there's some dude or some troop of dudes and gals that are honing their skills right now. And they don't care about it. The backlash to political correct, the backlash to it all. They're going to pop out of nowhere like comedy always does. And it's going to take the world by storm. It's my optimistic 2020, like rah, dude. Like I'm telling you, I think it's a funny, sarcastic movie.
I think we can let's manifest that. Like we put it in our thoughts. This is going to happen now. This is going to come out this year and just shake everything up, and it's going to be hysterical.
God, I think that's what we need.
I like it.
Funny movie.
I have kind of a good story that's along those lines. Is like, I live with my parents, and I was watching like a PBS show on global climate change, global climate change. And I got, I just got my dad to like sort of look at it from a different perspective. Just when I started going into the whole like, the whole like flat earth thing is like, well, anytime I hear someone talking about the globe, it's like, that's a red flag to me. And I just write it off. But it was just like, it was such a bummer show. And like, the thing that made it an experience was like poking holes in it. And I think that's, what a lot of the good parts of like these past couple of years has been with all this mess, is just being able to poke holes in this stuff. And so, whether it's going to be a big, like, a big thing or a bunch of just little moments, like I just had a really nice time with, just having a lark with this total bummer show that was all about like, the stuff, the degrees. Well, this degree means this thing, and it's like, yeah, bunch of like people saying like, oh, there's I've been studying the permafrost for 20 years and it's definitely changing. It's like, well, that's what happens when you stare at permafrost for 20 years. You just gotta have like
Exactly.
like really like
It's just another narrative to poke holes in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's gonna be this moment. I think that they can't get around. It's almost like the implant of the Let's Go Brandon thing, right? Like it was so accidentally stupid, and it caught storm, but it caught storm on sort of a negative FU vibe, right? I think the same thing's going to happen, but it's going to be like a chuckle. It's going to be something that's so subtle, and it's going to be like in that sort of vein of the Let's Go Brandon thing.
The
like,
paraplegic logo is pretty rad.
What's that?
The paraplegic logo.
Yeah.
With the mermaid. Yeah.
No, I think that it's going to come back. Remember the Kentucky Fried movie? It's one of my old favorites, man. Kentucky Fried Movie. It was that whole sort of thing of the ripoff of the culture repackaged as this in your face satire. Like that's the one thing America's left its flank open, is like we've really, as like these institutions take themselves so seriously, and we've bought into their seriousness, and eventually I think there's nowhere left to go but like to laugh at it. Maybe not.
I don't know. When I worked in corporate, like very briefly, like it was always serious. Like, you know, they always took all that suit and tie dress code. Like they never joked around. Like you couldn't even have silly stuff on your desk. So maybe they were just all too serious and they just need, you know, to be poked fun of. Maybe that's like, it's snowballed into just a serious corporation after serious corporation. And nobody like has a joke anymore about it. I don't know.
Like you mean like the least funny dudes in the world are running the whole show?
pretty much.
The guys, Stuart, you're studying are like the least funny, like the least funny. Like,
well, yeah, and they're all, you know, just emailing everyone, and they all track their emails, so they can't say anything because it's on record. So they just all have the most bland personality to like play it safe. They all talk like.
I'm gonna pull on that thread a little bit, man. Like, wait a minute. So, and Stuart, like, is that a potentiality of that? Is that these are the least funny people, the least funny human beings on the planet are these people?
Yeah, I think so something that's important for social control is having an ideology that is taken seriously, and that is something that masses of people consent to. So if you have something that completely undermines the controlling ideology of a society, yeah, that's bad for the people that are in charge.
So this is something I never thought about. Again, this is like that whole way they've prayed. Like when they talk about the dude with the funny little mustache back in the day with his, you know the guy, right? You never ever think about the possibility that dude ever chuckled. Like, right? That dude do you when you think about that dude in your mind's eye, do you ever think he had a belly laugh? Like a belly laugh, like ah!
And when you think about
like someone farted at one of his things and he just went no, right? But maybe that's like the thing, is if we could just get one of these stone cold icy people to laugh.
I don't know. I think they laugh at us. I don't know if any of you have seen the big scandal that has happened in the United Kingdom over the last 2-3 weeks. So Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, and his government have been in hot water for holding Christmas parties in 2020 while the rest of the country was locked down in isolation and supposed to be separated from their family and friends and not seeing anyone outside their household and all this sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's just that's kind of where they get their humor from. The fact that they can do things that you can't. And I think also the fact that anyone was surprised by that. You shouldn't be surprised by that, because these people are different to you. They think they're different to you. They will act differently to you. And yeah, they think they can get away with it. And they do get away with it.
Well, that goes to that whole weird premise, is like, who's like, what are they trying to get? Like, when I think about it from my own personal perspective, like, what are they trying to get away with? And why are we trying to stop them from thinking they can get away with it? Like, let them get away with it. Because what is it is that's that. You ever read that book Shantaram? It's the one about the dude who's over in India and the whole thing. And it starts out with he's being tortured by his, like, the dude, and he's forgiving him in the space, and he's like achieving the ultimate freedom by just forgiving this dude. And that's where the book starts, and you're like, oh, what a trippy like concept. And it's almost like that, like the one thing they haven't killed in me is my sarcastic sense of humor. Like, I still got my, like,
and they're a really good source of it as well. So you see all these mayors in cities and governors and these sorts of people that have been caught going out and getting haircuts and this sort of thing. And then their excuse is, well, I like to look good. I like to look after my personal appearance and my personal hygiene. Like, well, so do most other people too.
But I mean, that's sort of how I operate. Like, so when I, like, part of what I roll with that sort of a mentality. Like, that's how I sort of go about, call it like entitled snob elitist. Like, I view myself just like them. Like, no, this doesn't apply to me. Like, you guys can kick rocks, man.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about it, right? If you just flip it, well, perhaps that's going to put us all in a far better position.
Right.
So you're just a couple of minutes away, by the way, out there on the West Coast.
Almost to that whole thing. Well,
No one can believe I'm still awake.
I can't either, man. This is
everyone else went to bed here. They're like, what are you doing?
The longest stream we've ever done on the way out as we launch into 2022 and turn this off. I thank everyone for showing up tonight and sharing this with me, man. It was a cool thing to do. I think we do this more often. For me, my great gratitude for 2021 was being kind of refined into getting to know all of you and sharing this interesting medium with everybody in the chat and everybody who tunes in, and having babies here and meeting you and getting to look at you, and so I'm super excited for 2022. If this is how we're ending 2021 from where we started 2021, we won. Like, we, the High Frequency Tribe, have won the game because we're here and we've been holding the line, Diamond Souls. So, like, let's get fired up and take it to the next level and keep using the name tags and being kind to each other and just get fired up. And there it is, man. 2022 is here, dude. It's dumpster fire is out. So thank you for sharing this evening with me. I really do appreciate it. And
thank you. And thanks to everyone. It was fun. Thank you to everyone for sharing many viewpoints.
It's good stuff, man. Yell, bang your pots and pans.
Do it.
Can you hear me on the mic?
Yeah.
All right, later, guys.
Everybody. So let's take it. Stuart, you and I, let's get together. We'll have a regular thing and refine some of that stuff. I have some real, I think we have a good thing going. We should turn into a regular show.
And Hamish.
Yes.
I can talk to you about Palestine.
Okay, let's do that. I'm down with that. And Ozzy and Jeanette and Andrew, God bless you both. And Kate, congratulations on a year sober. We did it. That's my milestone for the 13 years, man.
Congrats.
We're here. We are here. We're alive and kicking and still doing the same thing. And God bless you. See you all tomorrow. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.